Listen, babe. Oh, yeah. It's alright, alright, alright. 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 It's alright, alright, alright. Listen, babe. Oh, yeah. 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 It's alright, alright, alright.
Look at that. I'm talking to myself. Welcome to this class. Had a crazy day today. Tennille and Shabisha is sick. Court is out today, so I'm running with a small crew in-house. But we're gonna have a fun class. And I wanna share with you guys before we even get class started, some cool things coming up for next year. So this year, well, for the last 2 years, we've been working on making the class more engaging, so a lot more dialogue. Next year, we actually been working on exercises for like a year now. And we have a lot, class next year is gonna be a lot of exercises. So a lot of things we're gonna actually do. I'm gonna also teach problem solving. So we're gonna create some problems, identify some problems, and I'm gonna teach you the methodology on how to solve any problem you might be facing. The key word I just said was any problem. You ever been to a discussion in the black community and folks are highlighting problems that they identify in the community? It doesn't matter if it's true or not, but they highlight these problems. And there's always somebody who reaches a point of being frustrated first. And they say, then what's the solution? And at that point, many of us, at that point, start to struggle in our mind and try to scramble and find a solution. Well, you'll find that that's not how solutions work. They're not prepackaged. But because when you go to school or you go into class or you go to some kind of training program or you get a job, it suggests that they already arrive with the answer and you're just there to learn from them, right? When you've experienced working within a solution, you automatically assume a solution was thought up. Somebody sat down who was extremely intelligent. This is a popular myth, right? The person was extremely intelligent. And in the extreme, Josh, you might need some help. Oh, okay. So, whoa, okay, oh, there you go. So they would assume that they're extremely intelligent. And we assume because they were extremely intelligent and have a PhD, they walked into the room with all of these angles of knowledge. And they were able to gel that creativity from all that knowledge and produce this wonderful answer, right? This is how we create movies. That works a small percentage of the time, and it works for problems that I would call, they're not really problems, they're tasks. When something's a problem, that means you don't know the answer. If you know the answer to a problem, it's called a task. It's no longer a problem. And so a lot of times we watch people engage tasks that they were educated to solve and assume they were problem solvers. Where problem solvers is somebody who's able to solve a problem that they don't have an answer to. Now you can see why this is going to be a very important skill to develop, because as a person in business, many of us participate in procrastination because we can't solve the problems right in front of us. And we don't know how to approach the problems, and sometimes we even get a headache from trying to think about it, or we become overwhelmed, and then we become distracted, procrastinate. We may even dive deeper into some type of practice or exercise to avoid the problem. So next year, what we're going to do is teach you guys the methodology of how to produce ideas, and the methodology of how to test those ideas, and the methodology on how to implement those ideas towards solutions. But that's going to require a lot of practice. And we're going to take on some of the biggest problems y'all can think of. I don't care what they are. And we might take 2 months, 3 months, 6 months to solve them, because the larger the problem, sometimes the more time it takes. But I'm going to actually help you guys engage in a process to solve the most complex problems you're facing. 2, I want to highlight that one of the key factors to problem solving is you don't come with ideas from scratch. You don't sit down in a room and be like, okay, I got a problem. What would I do here? All solutions come from previous input. Let me say this again. All solutions to all problems come from previous input. If you have a poor input system, you can imagine what's going to happen to your output system. If you don't like your current output, the way you change your current output, improve your input. So if you're in a situation where you're learning a lot of different things that seem random, when you have a problem, your brain does association and start to bring these ideas together to produce solutions. Often we think producing creative solutions is either a gift of creativity or a tool of willpower. Neither of the two. Solutions are purely driven by the quality of your input. Last point. Many of us think that in order for us to solve problems, we're taking all this knowledge, and then at the point I stop you walking down the street, I say, hey, what's the problem? What's the answer to this problem? You'll find that the worst time to make a decision, number one, is when the problem occurs. Number two, you assume that when somebody presents you right away with a problem, that somehow you're going to control all your emotions and produce an answer right on the spot. Here's something that you may find kind of weird, and this is one of the things that I had to struggle with for some time. Solution-based thinking requires for you to do things that seem like it's totally inefficient. So what do you mean? You will solve more problems going for a walk, watching a movie, doing something around your house, a simple task that seems mindless, taking a shower, getting a good nap. Because when that happens, you give your brain an opportunity to produce answers. And I can even assure you that if you decide to go exercise, like for example, I had a challenge we wanted to run a campaign for the next year's class. So I was tasked with kind of like sparking the team, and then the team's going to take off and run from the direction that I kind of shaped up. So I went to run the stairs. I did a lot of reading, thought about a lot of different stuff. And I went to run the stairs by Chiquita's gym. And as I'm running the stairs, I came up with about 25 campaigns. When I finished running the stairs, I probably came up with 3. Because the oxygen going through my blood, and as I'm running, my brain goes, hey, what about, it's not when a problem faces you, your brain does that. It's when you're sometimes offline. So a lot of times when you're facing a problem, there's 2 things. You want to prepare yourself. This is kind of what Hope does. It prepares you to make that decision and face that problem, right? Like imagine going to a car dealership and you try to negotiate from scratch without kind of creating a cheat sheet for yourself. What's a cheat sheet? If I get this feeling here, make a right. If this happened, turn left. If this happens, say no. If this happened, walk away, right? That allows you to make the best decision, so when you're under pressure, you don't make the worst decision. But many of us think we can walk in the heat of the fire, and our brains will be super creative, and they'll be able to emotionally be able to control the moment and make the best decision. That's not how we work. If you have big problems in your life, 1, give yourself time to solve them. Create space for you to move around, go exercise, go for a long jog, but like by yourself. And let your brain do its job. But as long as you continue to stress about it and think about it, that's what a writer block feels like. What can I write? What can I write? Oh, what can I write? Oh my God, what can I write? You're gonna be, oh my God. You know how painful that is? Leave the house. Have you ever watched creative people? They'll work on something and then they go play for a while. And in their play, they come back with ideas. They also learn to embrace other people. Creativity is not always have to be owned by the individual who's driving creativity. A lot of times, if you develop a rich creative circle, you can give your creative problem to creative friends. And because it's no pressure on them, there's no emotional stress, you'll be surprised how they could just not necessarily provide you the answer, but cue the answer for you. So teaching you guys how to get into the routines to make yourself more robust at problem solving, decision making, and then having exercises next year. That's one of the things we plan on doing is creating this exercise environment. So we're going to be using Miro. We're going to be using actual exercises where we're going to team you guys up and have you guys go out into the community and try these different things to test certain ideas, right? And the wins and the losses is going to be double data. So if you win, we get data for the win. And if you lose, we get data for the loss, right? But the key thing is we want to get you guys past the hesitation of your performance. It is so easy to get stuck in theory mode. And all you're doing is moving papers around and you're analyzing everything. And you're the talk of the party when people come over your house. But when it comes to look at your bank account, you're ashamed because you ain't producing anything. And so next year, we really plan on making it. So it's going to slow class down a lot. But I think it's going to make the lessons that we do teach more robust. And also, too, we're going to remove the restraint of 1 year next year and almost set the class like an academy where it may run for a year and a half as opposed to 1 year. But if somebody comes in the middle of the academy, it'd be rich enough where you could jump in and still gain value. But at some point, it will loop back, and we will have loop experiences based upon what we're receiving back from everybody. But if we're going to start the class now, we need to be able to give the classroom this to breathe and let us have conversations more, throw things back and forth, get feedback. If you have you have business challenges, and then also, how do we harness the team of the people in the room to help you solve your own personal problems? These are tools we have tools for that, and so we're planning on making this class a lot more engaging, a lot slower, a lot more. We want to hear how you think, and what's also what let us know that this is possible is I've been loving the homework response in this class. As you guys respond to the homework, it shows me how you're processing the information. And why is that all important? Because at the end of the day, entrepreneurship is not about handing you a skill, it's about changing your state of mind. That's a big difference. That's a huge hurdle to pull somebody, because it's normal to take a class and assume I'm just adding another modular level of knowledge. When we're saying, no, you have to upset the foundation of how you think. Otherwise, you will ultimately portray yourself as you grow, because you will turn into a worker, not a creator. You'll have worker dialogue. You'll develop worker anger. You'll be in worker conversations online, and you don't realize, no, you're an entrepreneur. So, for example, as an entrepreneur, I think Warren Buffett said this: you got to get to the point where you stop arguing. You'll let a person have the argument because you treasure the data and your thinking so much that you're burning too much valuable energy arguing over shit that doesn't matter. So you'll see something like, huh. Because at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with what you're building. But sometimes we waste so much time in trash, dialogue, that we steal from what we're trying to build. And the more you realize how precious you are, how precious your brain is, how precious your goal is, how important your goal is to other people, you realize you can't continue to spend those resources on things that don't matter. And that's some of the so we're gonna really reshape like the value of your time, the value of your brain, the value of how to let your brain get out the way so your brain can do what it needs to do, how to improve decision making. We're gonna still work on we're gonna start in January when we start the class. We're gonna start from a book called Liminal Beliefs. And Liminal Beliefs is gonna be replacing Code of Extraordinary Mind, but it's more in depth. It has more quality, it has more substance. And so the goal is to start you guys off. Hey, tell me if you want some. You want some pizza? Okay, he left. He didn't hear me. I'm telling you, if you want, tell me we got some more. Tell me we got. Tell me it has pizza, arugula pizza, but you can try a piece. It's right there, fam. Get you a plate. Grab whatever you want, bro. Yeah. I'm just saying, if you want to take a whole box and share with the crew, take one of those boxes and share with the crew. Yeah, take a full box and share with the crew. Okay. Yeah, man. Go ahead, man. Ride with it, baby. All right, fam. All right, now. So for those of you online, we the folks at the school are like family here. So we bring food in. We try to make sure we look out for our family around here because they give us so much love. So we try to always express some type of reciprocity. But anyway, so next year is going to be really, really exciting. You guys, this last point before we get started, because Shakina just can't wait to read. You can tell she's been putting on chapstick for the last 4 minutes. But so what if she really was doing that? That would be hilarious. I just can't wait for my turn. But so you guys know I said, and Shakina, make sure Shakina doesn't have a knife in her hand, okay? Josh, keep an eye on Shakina with knives, because I say certain things, she always try to cut me. Anyway, point is this. So let's say, remember I always told you that if I found another version of Hope, I'd quit teaching Hope tomorrow. I actually found another version. And I was I was so happy and so excited. And then I looked at the courses. Guess how much the course costs per class? $20,000 class. And guess what the course is taught at? Oh, by the way, the company raised 1.1 billion. They raised 1.1 billion. And guess where the course is located? Stanford. And it teaches the exact same structure we teach. It blew my fucking mind. So what happened, let's give you the story. A group of guys who were entrepreneurs and entrepreneur consultants decided, hey, what's up, fam? Decided to, they were being consulted, they were consultants, but realized business courses in schools weren't strong enough. So they created they called it the D School at Stanford. And D School was everything they learned from the testing these ideas that worked in the field. They brought that data back to the students to teach them entrepreneur and leadership courses. And it's an online course only, and it's 20 grand per course. And it's something like 6 or 7 courses, right? And the exact same approach that we have to teach entrepreneurship, it is a perfect mirror. The only difference is we have a little bit more emphasis towards Black culture. But if you take away the emphasis of Black culture, if the professor just took my place today, it would feel right in the rhythm of the same stuff we teach in this class. It blew my damn mind. I was like, wait, what? I'm currently reading this book. I'm like, yeah, like what the book is for me is it's showing me some new techniques I haven't seen. But the same approach, the same model, the same thought, the same focus, is a program dedicated to entrepreneurs and leadership. And but so with that being said, I guess I'm gonna still keep teaching. So yeah, I watch Shakina because every time I think if she think I'm gonna stop teaching, time I cut me. So no, I'm not stop teaching. Yes, told you she evil. So I'm not gonna stop teaching, but I will be stealing some of their tools because they have a team of I think they got like 12 people teaching. They're working on the course, and they have different professors, and the professors are now releasing their books on their curriculum structure. So I'm able to like steal some pieces that and help me get some cheats out of their system. But
How long have they been doing that?
since 2007, I think it was, they started theirs, and it blew my mind because, like I said, there's nothing like this for Black folks. There's nothing. Even I was talking to the dean of business here, which is, by the way, amazing person. And as I was speaking to her, she was, I was explaining to her, I was like, hey, the way I designed this class, we have no class that's aimed at us from a mental perspective. It's all kind of tactical. And the problem with tactical is assuming that we're okay, like we're just like everybody else. Like there's no variations in cultural experiences and old running stories and historical trauma that's baked into the culture and perception of how the way the world works. They don't realize that there's just, even the way that we show up to civics is different, right? Like if you go to Walnut Creek, like for example, okay, I was watching Japan, everybody cleans up. Like everybody cleans. Like they say one of the cleanest places in the world is Japan, right? Everybody cleans. Contrast that with East Oakland. And it's not that that's not that folks and Black folks in East Oakland are mentally ignorant. That's the culture that they've been raised in. Like Kendrick Lamar said, how one song we did over Marvin Gaye's song, he was highlighting all these bad things and he says, it's culture. We call it culture now, and it shouldn't be culture. And so, the education continues to double down on 1 + 1 is 2, but they don't realize that the culture structure was broken down so bad because of crack that kids are now being raised cultureless. And so now culture is just trash that's out there, and they don't know any different because they weren't here 30, 40, 50 years ago to have comparison and go, okay, we're out of whack. And a lot of people who have the resources, so they get the resources, they be like, I'm out of here, right? And leave everybody behind, and they don't reintroduce culture, nor do we value reintroducing culture. We don't realize culture is what stabilizes culture, like stabilizes human behavior. Without culture, which is a story, then humans start to act in ways that's self-destructive. Grab the microphone. Get right to me. Go on.
But from my perspective, when people say certain stuff about the culture or what I'm experiencing from my perspective, a lot of the stuff in our culture is already self-destructive.
It wasn't always. It's okay.
From my perspective, how long I just, like, from what I've seen,
No,
when
no,
you say
you're right.
culture,
No,
it just, it doesn't always
you-
seem right or good.
Well, no.
Not the whole good and right thing, but just like killing ourselves, drugs, how we disrespect women, or just how we talk to each other. It's a whole bunch. From
No, I'm not. I'm not even saying that I don't see where you're coming from. 100% see where you're coming from. I'm saying, but culture is not. It doesn't just exist. We control it. So if we want to see something different, then the question is, what are we going to do? Right? And we starts from I. I produces and inspires we. Not I go preach to we with I running at a low performance. Right? And so that the challenge of culture is that it's unmanaged. One of the things I used to argue, if you know me for years, and I haven't changed my position on this yet, but the number one thing that's challenging African Americans, we're ungoverned. We have no internal government. And what does government usually do? It usually helps culture survive in a way. It helps culture protect itself from itself. So human beings, sometimes we'll fall victim to certain rhythms and practices because of different things that happen around us. And what government has a tendency to do is kind of manage the ecosystem that shapes human behavior, right? African Americans have never been governed. We've never been governed. We're a subgroup within a group, but we don't have a governing group saying, hey, we need to shift resources here. Hey, look at the schools. Hey, look at the attitude. We got to change this attitude here. Hey, let's produce this new energy to get them ready for this new innovation or this new technology. Let's start prepping them. Let's move, like, none of that stuff. Look at the common illnesses that face African Americans. How do we start raising money to fund that? Or how do we work on international relationships so we can have resources to invest in these better solutions to keep us strong? Those ecosystem things are not, we're just really surviving cultureless. And then what we call culture is reacting to just popular social movements, which is where you're coming from. And so at the end of the day, this class is designed to produce entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs produce culture. And so, because guess what? If you hire people and they work at your space for 8 to 10 hours a day, ask anybody that worked for Google, do they get culturized? Facebook, did they get PG&E? They shape the culture of how you. Many of you guys don't even sound like your original youthful voice because you've been in that culture for so long. When you go to colleges, when you go to Harvard, you go into a culture. Cal Berkeley, a culture. Stanford, a culture, right? That's why when I said think about hope can't just be a class. It has to be a culture that continues to expand by our success, and as we achieve successes, the status of our success allows us to be cultural influencers. Go ahead, Akash.
Thank you. About something you referenced a minute ago about like getting into creative weeds and then wanting to collaborate with other creators to give ideas. And as I'm now starting to be in the beginning of moving around in my business, I feel myself distinctly not doing that. And my perspective was, I've been sitting here for 2 years now. So I feel like now is the time for me to see what is my natural instinct to do. And I feel like if
It's
I
tight, by the way. It's all
collaborate
tight.
and
It's
get
all
that,
tight.
you're feeding me the line and I'll never know what I would have thought to do naturally based on the 2 years I've been sitting here. But I also don't want to shun the collaboration attempt either. I feel like right now, don't collaborate as far as don't get outside input on what to do next. Is this a good idea? Is that a bad idea? Because you need to see what you're capable of in your own mind based on everything you've heard, read, seen, and talked about over these 2 years.
So let me help you with that. So that's what I'm going to teach next year, but let me just give you a little hack right now. We're here, let's dance around a circle. You're looking at ideas as quality over quantity. Get quantity, and then you choose the quality, and you still run your business. See the difference? So let's say if I got everybody to chime in on an idea, and let every idea hit the table. Because sometimes that crazy idea is the best idea, right? But the decision maker is you. But now, how do you make the decision? You take the ideas you feel like the most, and you test them, and then let the test be the absolute final decision maker. But guess who runs the whole process? You. So bringing people into the process is allowing them to participate in the thinking process, the brainstorming, the ideas, but the actual engagement, the testing, and the actual utilizing, that's on you. So you don't really stop that. It's when you start looking at ideas as being decision makers. Like somehow we can let the ideas become no, ideas are just ideas. And if I sat down and said, because anytime you come to me about anything, I've been trying to stress this for quite some time. I can't be the decision maker for nobody in this room, because you guys have innovated in a way that my way of thinking necessarily doesn't align with whatever business you're trying to provide. The goal here is to just take my advice as an idea for consideration. Then you sit down and you start to look at what are the quality ideas, dump the rest. No one loses, no one wins, right? Now, you got to create a safe space for ideas also. If I give you an idea and you battling with me, when somebody gives you an idea, your goal is to say to yourself, okay, that's a cool idea, huh? And then gain more clarity and depth. You can totally disagree with the idea, but you shouldn't disagree with no idea. This is why we suck, because we're looking for we're looking for an answer, not an idea. Be very clear about that. Once you sit down with a group of people and like say, you give me an idea, like, so how would that work? Okay, cool. Give me as much as you can. I mean, if you don't know everything, that's fine, because that's all it needs to be is an idea. But you also, here's another thing too. You know what creativity is? Be able to give me another answer besides the first answer that came to your mind. That's where creativity starts. So you have to be able to, so if you don't feel safe, you may even fight to give me that one idea, but if my response to your idea made you feel uncomfortable, you're not gonna keep seeking more ideas, right? You wanna make it where I made you feel so comfortable that when you leave, you still texting me ideas, right? And then I bring all those ideas together as I'm thinking about it, and I just leave them there. I identify the problem first. You have to have absolute clarity on what the problem is. Without absolute clarity around the problem, your brain, if you lie to your brain's gonna lie back to you, right? So you gotta be very honest about what is the problem facing me. That means that you can't say, well, I kind of made a mistake and it wasn't all me. It was kind of Lily's fault because she be tripping a little bit, but I guess I gotta solve it, right? That's why radical responsibility is such a thing, because as you take absolute responsibility for the problem that you're facing, your brain will say, okay, damn, it's our responsibility. Leave that fairness, it's our responsibility. Then you take all these ideas, and what those ideas do, they spark other ideas within you. Because you take their ideas, your experiences, because you left the space open. And while you're walking home one day, your brain goes, why don't you try this? And you're like, holy fuck. It almost seems magical, right? Where we go wrong is we sit in this will, like we're trying to control the whole process, which is, I got a problem, don't holler at me unless you got a fucking answer, and I'm gonna solve it because I'm hella smart. And I know all the answers. This is where this ego, and fairness and status, a whole bunch of shit in there that's stopping you from solving the problem. What you wanna do is do this. Damn, I got a problem. Okay, first of all, I gotta own it, because if I don't own it, I can't solve it. Fine, now I own it, I have ownership. Okay, I'm gonna sit down and see if my brain has enough experiences. But if I'm still struggling with the problem, because it's a little bit bigger than me, I'm gonna find key people that I think are extremely creative. And I'm gonna open up the conversation like, hey, here's a problem, a challenge, how would you solve that problem? You didn't say, come in my life and fix my life. You say, how would you solve that problem? They say, well, I would do A, B, and C, D, E, F, G. Like, well, how would you do that? Okay, cool. Give me another way you would solve it. Now this is where creativity kicks in, right? If a person gets a 3, if people get a 3, now you're in full creative space. That person's rolling, right? Now, it doesn't mean you use any of that shit. Or some of that shit might be future solutions to other problems, or it might be different ways to evolve later on. It doesn't even don't let all that control go. Let that shit just sit. Just let it sit. And go about your day. And guess what? Not only will your brain start to produce connections, it will see things in the world around you going, it's right there. Fuck. That's what they was talking about. But because we get so defensive, pause. You got to go wide before you go narrow. You see, hey, you feel me, huh? Hey, just look, hey. I'm old school. But anyway, point is this. So, only Lily got that shit, which is some of her code. She's like, okay. That's why I fucks with her. So the reality is that the problem with too many of us as black folks, we move narrow in a space of creativity. And so our lives feel fucking as rigid as our thinking. In order for you to get doper in what you do, you got to get used to even having dumbass thoughts and being cool with it. And don't shame yourself. That's why I tell you all the time when you say, oh, like say, Jordan said something, you be like, Jordan, that's stupid. Oh, you're going to pay for that. Because you're going to police yourself the same fucking way. And you're going to realize that some of those stupid ideas are fucking amazing. That's why you have to turn all that shit down and start to see a broader value range and start becoming more curious and start to make sure you always have don't have intentional input, just have input. I can't tell you how many times that I've read something 3 weeks ago and a problem lands right on my lap and I'm like, and people are like, damn, you killed that. You can't plan for the unknown. You guys just keep the quality of input so intense that your brain kind of can put things together much faster. It's if you're at home watching the same old storylines and you're doing the same old patterns, you feel stuck. Because your quality of your input. So you got to become obsessed with your input game. That's when I say, so Nana says, oh yeah, I read an hour and a half a day. That empowers me to have more ideas and better decision making to navigate my team. And also to inspire my team to have more decisions. Because now my team watches me learn and they watch my investment. So everybody on my team invests in themselves. Like everybody on my team reads at least 10 books a year. Everybody at least 10 books a year on my team. But that started with me and Mashama being dedicated first. Where we go wrong when we're in leadership roles is we're taking something like this class here and tell everybody on our team, hey, go listen to this. No, just become this. And you become this, then your staff, you will start to become infectious and grow these same ideas. And you'll build systems that will encourage that creative space for that to happen. But without creativity, you're talking about luck. Without creativity, you're doing this if you become successful, it's because these fingers was locked, right? But the reality is that there are methods on making your business better in decision making, better at ideas, becoming more creative. But our culture, because of our defensive mode, because of some of our trauma, no reflection on any person I can think of, especially if your childhood and your personal childhood was rough too, it makes you very narrow in your process. So you only let certain ideas through, which means you only get only so many ideas out. And so you have to widen that system up and not make, if I sit down and say, hey, Kaja, I think that's a bad idea, you can't say, I just said, hey, Kaja, you're a bad person. Because your brain just did a cognitive dissonance where you try to tie the two together. I didn't say that. Anything else before we jump to the lessons? Yeah, go ahead.
Is it on?
Yeah.
I think you addressed it when you talked about the trauma portion of seeking answers, where when we're asking questions, whether or not we should have some kind of emotional detachment to seeking the answer because of that emotional trauma that we've already experienced before, of being either told we're stupid, or where you have parents who are like, stop asking questions, because literally parents will be like, stop asking questions because they don't want to answer it, or because they don't have the answer.
You're exhausted. Shit, mama, life got in the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So should there just be an emotional detachment from the answer that we're receiving? And the other thing is, should we, Should we also concern ourselves with having quote unquote trusted sources when we're asking those questions? Because there's also the emotional attachment to the person we're asking the question to, whether or not we believe that person is a trusted individual or
Let's explore that word real quick before we jump in. Because, by the way, thank you. Let me just say this again, once again. Thanks. If you've been in my shoes for the last 7 years, when I hear these questions coming from you guys are really helping me teach. So not only I want to say thank you, I think the class can say thank you because you're contributing. That's how we wear a mask. That's black folks. That's the hoodest way of wearing a mask I ain't ever seen. I'm wearing my mask. Oh, I love my people. I don't want nobody else. But the thing is that, Shakina, you and your people. Anyway, point is this. And so the reality is that, so thank you. I really do mean thank you because you guys are articulating, I know for sure by looking at the homework, you guys are helping me bring the lessons down so people can like grab them for themselves, as opposed to like this theory that somebody can repeat it, but then when it comes time to implement it, like shit, right? It doesn't work. So when you say trusted, I don't want to make that assumption. What do you mean by someone you can trust or somebody who's trusted? Give me an example of somebody that would not be trustworthy.
Say, for instance, you want to buy a vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Would you ask your ex about purchasing a vehicle?
Well, you might ask.
Listen,
You know what I'm saying? You might want to ask that different, girl.
We can or say, for instance, you have a friend that you know is irresponsible with money, because this is actually a better example. You have a friend that's irresponsible with money, and they spend their money on all kinds of things. You're looking to purchase a large purchase item. Their thought is, ooh, go get you a S something, I don't know cars like that. And then, go get you one of them. And you're like, I don't have that kind of money. Girl, you got it, you ball out. Now.
Hey, well, that's a real scenario.
It's a real question. Where
That's a real
it's like,
scenario.
would you trust that individual's advice on purchasing a large purchased item, because you know how they are with money? They have absolute massive amounts of debt, but they're telling you to ball out.
So let me share something. You're doing the same thing Kaja just did. You're kicking yourself out the driver's seat. You're still the driver.
Right.
If you ever see, I don't know if you guys ever hung out with like really rich entrepreneurs or people that's been long-term entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. They ask questions to everybody. They ask a homeless person, what would you do if you bought this kind of car? What kind of car would you buy? Because in the end, they're just taking in ideas. You still got to be responsible to be the decision maker. You don't get to release that idea to somebody else. So even when she's giving you advice, because human beings are so layered with complexities, right? A preacher could be a pimp, a prostitute can be a nurse, right? It's just, human beings are that goddamn complex, and we really are. Our advice could be this is complex. And it could be, in the creative world, let's say if I'm working on a campaign on something around HIV in San Francisco. Based upon that premise of what you just said, you would assume I would bring in like people in the gay community or people and black women who are heavily impacted by, well, used to be, I'm not sure if they still are, with the stats, but at the time, black women were heavily hit by HIV. So you would assume that when I had a creative meeting, I would bring those people into the room. I would bring the most eccentric ass folks that you would ever imagine in a room, and some of the best ideas. You can't create a duck that says Aflac from smart motherfuckers. Matter of fact, creativity trumps intelligence in business and in creativity. So a lot of times somebody can come in a room. So a lot of times that person they may not give you all the valuable information, but there may be something there. And so when you ever watch people who are people are stringing and strong, like I got some friends who are like, really, really well, you would never know because they dress like clothes never mattered. And they're like in like clothes protests or some shit. But anyway, but if you hang out, they're asking the person who's emptying the garbage can, hey, what would you do about this kind of problem? And you've been thinking, what the hell? Why'd you ask him? Because that's how creativity works. It's really not, you don't really get to control the quality of the people. Like your control is the quality of your input, your studying, your curiosity, your research, your constant learning, right? That's the thing you control. So because you're controlling that and you're becoming a much more robust decision maker, what you want to do is let ideas come in fluently. And because the best idea, you can't predict when and where, how it's going to come in. So you remove the restrictions of how it's coming in, you restrict how you act. Because like I said, if you think of some of the most amazing forms of ingenuity in any area, it came from places you didn't expect. There's even proof that says the worst thing you can do is put a group of experts in a room to make a decision, because their expertise destroys their creativity. You need to bring somebody that's just totally outside their circle to enhance their creativity. Because even if the girl's telling you something, it may enhance your brain on how you're processing something and bring your attention to like, oh shit, I was about to make this move. I don't even need, for example, let's just say you were looking at a Tesla, right? And she's telling you to go get the newest EQ by Mercedes-Benz, right? And the price, let's say the Tesla's hitting at 60 at the beginning and the EQ starts at 90, right? And she's like, yo, and those seats, the ones that give you the massage, oh my God. And you'd be like, you know, I don't even care about none of that shit. But if you went to the car dealership, they caught you in the wrong time, and he said, yeah, this one has leather seats, and this one has cloth seats, you'd be like, okay, right? But because you had that conversation from that person, they changed your lens, and you're a little bit more conscious to say, hey, I don't really give a shit about that. Let's stay close to this price right here. Because you kind of already did an evaluation, but you may not evaluate it if all your intelligent ass friends talk to you about just the math of financing, and then you still go in there and go for a $60,000 car and you're walking there with like $85,000 because you took all these damn upgrades and then you didn't pay attention to little things, right? So everybody has value to your creative processing. It's not, that's a control mechanism. Like, I need this person to come in so I can get this kind of advice so I can go here, as opposed to let all this information come in. You're responsible for processing it, you're refining it, and then you own the decision, but the decision starts from a test. You test it first. If you don't test it first, you can't blame them. You find ideas that really remember that podcast that's interesting to you. That's interesting. Just that simple. You take the interesting advice from all the hundreds, so now you're down to five forms of advice from 100 people, right? So 95 you threw away. Some of them you may table like that. That could be possible. Now you test those 5 and you narrow it down to 2. And then which one is most have the most desire for you to take that path? And that's how you make decisions on complex problems. Think about if you, okay, so I'm gonna give you an example of the model of, so I'm gonna have Shakina, we're gonna do this exercise the first month of school next year. We'll list the biggest problems in our community that everybody in this room go, I don't know how I fucking solve that problem. Oh, by the way, 3rd floor, I don't know, have you seen the art class, the fashion class? When we leave here, before you leave, just go to the 3rd floor, look at those classrooms. You might want to fuck with it. They're going to, and they're open to, like, if nothing else, you should be making so many gowns and pieces for, oh my God, when you go up there, you'll be like, I went up there today for the first tour, and I was like, Alameda, y'all playing. Like, y'all got this up here? It feels like I was at, what's that, Fitnum? I was at the Fitnum side. It sounds better, don't it? Fitna, I went to Fitna. Fitna get an education. But it's yeah, if you can get a chance, just go to the 3rd floor, just look around. But trust me, you might want to, because it's a new system, and it's all new shit. Hella, like mannequins, sewing machines, all this. I was like, God, you got me, because I love fashion. I just don't know where I would fit in my life. If I can find a gap, you might see me up in that class. Anyway, that was a side note. I kind of went too far. What's it? Decision making too narrow.
Basically, ball out. That's what you said.
Okay, so this is how they're going to do the exercise. Festival. So this is how the exercise is going to go. So we have everybody. The first requirement is identify a problem. So we identify the problems that are facing us, right? Then we're going to remove like the problems that just we're gonna try to narrow down to like some key problems that we're all excited about. And then I'm gonna let you, and then you guys have to process it like, yeah, you articulate how you feel about the problem. And then every week to every month, I'm gonna ask somebody, just contribute anything, any answer you may have. And watch what we produce by the end of the year. You're gonna be like, oh shit, we just solved this. The food desert, the educational problem, economic system, housing situation, right? But what we often force ourselves to, what we often do is we beat ourselves up by saying, oh, if I don't understand what the problem with housing, maybe I need to go to school about housing, maybe I'm not qualified. Oh my God, we need somebody who's more creative than me. No, you have it. And sometimes you just need to organize more creativity for greater robust problems. This is how big companies solve complex problems. That's why they seem like juggernauts to you. It's the process of problem solving, not the individuals. If you go into corporate America, you know, I'm a hood kid. So I'll never forget this. Being a hood kid, getting my first corporate job, I'm thinking white people are gonna be hella smart. Y'all have you ever felt that before? Like you think like in corporate America or in big companies, they're gonna be hella smart. You get up there, you're like, ain't nobody smart in this motherfucker. Where the smart motherfuckers at? And you sitting there going, no, wait a minute, my mama was smarter than everybody in this room? Y'all gotta be kidding me, right? So then you like, okay, all right. So you meet somebody with a PhD and you having a conversation with them. You like, if I get in this narrow lane, you are brilliant. But if I bring you out here, you are dangerously ignorant, right? And then you realize, oh, this is later. This came way later. It's not about the individual. It's about the processes. The reason you're not competing with other races in their performances because you don't have strong processes. Everybody in this room is smart enough. Everybody in this room can run a large company, but you got to have your processes in place for you to run it. It ain't about you. Nothing large is going to be about just you. I can promise you, once you hit about 1 million or 2 million, it's going to start getting away from you. Look, I don't give a shit who you don't have, unless you're an actor or basketball. Even basketball players, they take after a certain amount of million, they can't even run their career. It ain't about you. It's about the team you surround yourself. The team that surrounds you becomes the power to run whatever you're trying to run. And so you sort of realizing that people you invest in is what makes you great, but it's not about you being great. You see the gap in that space? I don't know. Is Josh out there working out? No. Oh, you okay, Josh? Are they outside? Okay. Yeah, no, I know, hey, man, I know, especially with all this Jewish sensitivity, I didn't know if that was a form of exercise. Or, yeah. Oh, God, this Jewish stuff is getting crazy. Yeah, anyway, shout out to my Jewish partners. Okay. We cool so far on the don't try to control ideas. Go wide on ideas, not narrow. And then realize, you understand me, pause. And remember that at the end of the day, the decision maker is you, not somebody else. The people giving you advice are not responsible for the decision that you have to make. It's up to you. And the way you become better in your position of responsibility is you improve your input. If you improve your input, you improve your output. Really simple. But we're gonna get deeper into like steps and measures. We're gonna have a lot of exercises like next year. So like I said, next year class is gonna be a lot more exercises. It's gonna slow class down, but when you walk out of here, you're gonna feel like you can run the world. All right? Okay. Kitty, you ready? I know you probably run out of chapstick.
Oh man. Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, so let's can you change slide? Okay. All right, let's jump into this real quick. Listen here. This is what I want you guys to do. So Lilia said to me one time, she said, in the last class, like it was going over my head, stop me, and let's bring it down to the ground where the chickens can get at it, right? Let's lower it. But no, that's my old country background. So make sure you bring it down to the ground. And so if there's at any point you're like, yo, this shit don't make no sense. Anybody in this room, pause it. Because at the end of the day, it's like, I'm committed to like, I'm not doing this for status. I'm doing this to see change. And it doesn't help me if the context is not landing. So it's more important for us to get the context. I'd rather slow the class down and you guys leave here owning the context than you guys just have the content, but you guys are in some other like dimension when it comes to context. So with that being said, you ready to get down? Let's do it.
To begin with, the formula of Jamie's Italian scaled so well from the get-go because Oliver's name and face served as a brand that got people in the door.
So what he's saying is that, so this company that Jamie Italian was running, it blew up. But the reason it blew up is because, of course, Jamie didn't cook anything. He became the chef. I mean, he built the ingredients so the business can scale. So everybody remember that from last week, that if you want to scale a business, it can't be built upon you being an exquisite chef, but it's got to be built on the ingredients of the business, and because the ingredients are scalable, but you as a chef, your charisma, your personal touch, it's just not scalable, right? So in the beginning, what he did was, to help his company grow, he built a brand. What is a brand? It's a reputation, a business reputation. So as he opened up other businesses, it carried the same reputation. This is why when you first start a business, how you show up to people and how you make people feel is so critical, because it starts to shape everything you produce. For example, if I told you tomorrow, hey, Apple said they're going to deliver new chairs to this classroom, you guys would go, ooh, because their brand is innovation. Right? If I told you if I told you Dell was going to bring new chairs to this classroom, you might say, well, what's wrong with these chairs? Because Dell is just really about production and really like just making things, they're really about pushing like a carriage of production and delivery of products, but they're not really known for their innovation and creativity. And so in the end, so at this point of the read, he's gained momentum on his brand, which set expectations on how he was supposed to show up. And as long as he met those needs, his business was contagious, because of between the media going viral with his products and services, between the talk of the town, all he has to do is land and deliver what his brand promises. Keep going, Shakina. Fame and brand.
Fame and brand recognition are extremely scalable if people like and trust you.
Yes.
And Oliver wasn't just a celebrity, but a celebrity chef with earned credibility.
Mm-hmm.
However, this alone wouldn't have guaranteed that the chain would thrive at scale.
Mm-hmm.
Countless restaurants owned by celebrity chefs and just plain celebrities have failed even before scaling up.
By the way, slide note. Do you know that most restaurants receive some amount of Michelin stars or rate like top restaurants within 2 or 3 years they go out of business? You know what it is? They stop serving the customer. They start serving they start serving their status. So in the end, you so busy trying to maintain. You ever been to a business and the people act like they're too good for you, or you're lucky to be in their business? The business has lost its way, and they stop serving the customer, and they start serving status, because the status makes all of us are. A status for a human being is like cocaine. To some people, it's like crack, and so once it takes over the team will have meetings bragging about their status over how can we better align with the market. All right, keep going.
What kept customers coming back and new ones coming into Jamie's Italian was that, like the recipes in his cookbooks, the dishes relied on fresh ingredients, simply prepared, rather than an over-extravagant ingredients or a laborious creative vision.
So real quick, it's when you want to scale something, you gotta reduce a lot of the extras. Too many extras become too hard to scale. When he says it relied upon fresh ingredients, you know that's a limitation for you as a business. So what do you mean? Go somewhere where you can get fresh ingredients, and guess what? That business doesn't work. In order for that business to work, it must function within a space. By the way, the meat pizza and the veggie pizza is there for the meat eaters. So it has to be able, when something says, I'm going to provide fresh vegetables, then if you go to some place where they don't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables, that business won't work the same. Once you make that promise, your business has to always be positioned to have access to that resource. So if you don't have a vendor relationship that's going to get that product to you and services to you, you can't even start to land in that space. Pass the microphone. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, that's fine.
It's off? Oh,
Huh?
Need some batteries?
Oh, need some battery? Oh, okay, he got Josh coming. Okay.
I haven't been here for like 2 weeks, but I remember one time I stayed after class and you mentioned to me about that clothing brand and you walked into the store and you felt like I wasn't even gonna buy a pair of socks from them because they made you feel like less than.
Yeah, status. It was status hungry.
Yeah. So just kind of talking about just like, restaurants or like fashion brands. My question is, if the status is what initially like attracts the customer, then how do you find the counterbalance between keeping the customer and then keeping that attractive status?
You see, because it comes down to the way you design, position, how you treat people. For example, if you ever get a chance, if you ever want to take a field trip, and I always encourage people, go to Scottsdale, Arizona, and you walk into an expensive store, they see you. They may even offer you wine. They will show up in ways where you feel like, oh, okay. They say, if you're in here, you must be special. How can we treat you as a special person, which protects the status? What they don't do is act like your outfit's the wrong outfit that day. That's kind of low status stuff, right? Like if you ever first got into fashion world and then you go to somebody else, why are you wearing those, right? Okay, that's not the status game. That's a really immature status game. A high-level status game would be they will offer you a wine that only certain people would know about, or they will have conversations with you, or they will approach you in a way that says, "Hey, I see you," right? So there's a way to engage status in multiple ways without shrinking the customer. As a matter of fact, you got also too. What about your potential future customer? Let's say I'm 24 and I haven't got my first job yet. Finishing college, I go into your store, your version of Gucci, and when I walk in there, you say to me, "Oh, why are you here?" You destroyed your future market. What you want to say to me is, when you have enough money, this is where you want to be. Like BMW in Berkeley gets it wrong. BMW in San Francisco, they get it right. So if you ever go to BMW, it feels like the most snootiest place in the world to buy a car. Right? I bought a car. I bought a Volvo before. I've been a Mercedes-Benz before. BMW be on some shit. But Berkeley won't even, they're getting better because Berkeley's changing over staff. Old Berkeley BMW wouldn't even speak to you walked in there unless you looked a certain kind of way. San Francisco, oh, how can I help you? But you could tell the way everybody's dressed, the way the place is laid out, the way everything looks. Oh, you're about to spend some money. And the kind of people that's coming in there, they're also attracting the right kind of people to come in there to reinforce their brand, right? So it's a combination of different things to control, but that's more or less into like actual branding the space and branding the people who show up. Go on, Pastor Lily.
When they talked about fresh ingredients, it made me think of Chipotle. Isn't that a part of their business model to offer fresh everything because they create relationships with the current farmers or vendors nearby? So
Right. It's doable. I didn't say it's not doable. I'm saying when you build a business, once you make that offer, then now you just don't go into a neighborhood without taking extra steps to protect your offer. If you go into a neighborhood and automatically just start saying, "Oh, I'm going to set up right here," and then all of a sudden you can't gain access to fresh ingredients because they're already being extracted from Chipotle and anybody else. Now you spend all that money on all this infrastructure, but you can't offer your promise, which means you won't be able to last long. Kaji, you have something to say?
Two things. This is why I feel myself often not wanting to ascribe to demographic, even though I know you have to because you can't serve everybody. But in that example you gave, driving too hard on your demo makes you start to not see people on the fringes because they're not aligned with the demographic market. So I'm just interested in your POV on identifying a demo
Wait,
without.
did you just say POV of point of view?
Point of view.
Yes.
No. I just age difference is irrelevant right there. In my age group, somebody said POV, I'd be like, wait a minute, you know, I didn't go to jail. It's
I
like
didn't know
probation or
that.
something. But anyway, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
POV, go ahead.
No, your POV on holding firm to your demo without excluding people who might be on the fringes of that might find their way into your business. That's the first thing. The second thing is, and this, I probably really don't want to ask this question, but I just have to ask. What if you don't want to scale? Like when they're talking here about the fresh ingredients, if my business is built around fresh ingredients, maybe I don't scale to Oshkosh B'gosh where they don't have it. And
You don't have to. But even if you scale to 2, or you scale to 3, or you scale to 1 where you don't have to show up every day, that's still scaling. So how far you scale it, that is your preference.
Okay.
Right? So we're not teaching scaling. How do you go from you cooking every day in the kitchen to a team cooking in the kitchen for you?
Okay.
You're scaling, right? So that's number 1. Let me get to number 2 and number 3. The way status works is, how many people right now that you know is really, really poor, that they want some money, they wouldn't go buy a really nice car or be in a place, like, do you know anybody that won't?
Couple.
Maybe a couple, but most people, as soon as they get, because when you don't have access, it makes it even more desirable, and it's a statement of status. Once everybody has access to it, it's no longer value, it's no longer status. So unfortunately, if you're trying to make status as part of your marketing appeal, you're going to have to make some stuff unavailable to certain people. That's how it is. I mean, the reality is that the problem is, and this is what you're going to struggle with, you got too much social justice baked into your system. Too much. You've echoed it to me. Social justice is not functional. It's a group of theories that's never been tested. For example, if you give me a popular social justice idea. Give me anyone.
Pay equity.
Huh?
Pay equity.
Pay equity? I don't know what pay equity. Tell me, what does that mean?
Like not having, differentiators in pay for men, women, senior, not senior.
So let me tell you where so in theory that sounds beautiful. And reality is that everybody in the room is gonna show up the same. Period. And I'd be damned if you work twice as hard as me and we talking about pay equity. I'd be damned if you have the same interests, doesn't have the same interests as me, right? The real problem is that there really is you should be able to say to somebody, you can have equal access. But from the outside looking in, it may not look that way, right? So at the end of the day, it's like, for example, okay, let's say you're a woman, say I don't want no kids, and you ain't really tripping on your family life like that because that's how you structured your life. That's how it works, okay? You should be able to do anything any other man can do as far as business is concerned. As long as it doesn't require muscles that didn't develop the same, fuck it, you should be able to have it 100%, right? But let's say you get into a relationship and you decide, I don't really want to be like in a corporate world like that. I really want to be with my kids more, right? Because sometimes in most communities, we sacrifice one or the other. The man and the woman get sacrifices. In many cases in the black community, a lot of black women got sacrificed, right? And somebody usually stays at home and does a little bit more home engagement, like all them goddamn schools you got to keep going up to, all the all the parenting that's required, even the attention for these little militants to keep them focused. Somebody has to play a role in that, right? You can say, well, in some cases you can split 50-50. It's never the same. And then what about psychological differences? What about every woman don't show up like you show up, which is automatically inequality. So for example, you can't say you and the woman on the streets who wants to be Cardi B, the real Cardi, the original Cardi B, and you who is a sister out here busting your ass performing, should be absolutely judged equally and managed and show up to them the same, right? So equality means that, yeah, you should have equal access, but when you actually implement that system, there's going to always be complexities that this doesn't reveal itself, that should not be left to emotional, moral discussion. are public discussion, because public never looks at what if this group is doing drugs and this group's not doing drugs? What if this group has this social challenge, this group has this cultural challenge? I don't know what that is. But when you start actually building it out, and I say, okay, if I give equal pay, I need equal performance. And if performance does this, you just you took away the incentive for long term for that to stay in place, and over time it'll shift back, right? And that goes both ways. I don't have a preference on one way or the other. I'm saying when you implement something in the real world, everything changes. But when you talk about it in the virtual space, oh, it's like, oh yeah, everybody should this and everybody should that. You forget about drug habits. You forget about lying. You forget about sexual habits that are inappropriate. You forget about all that stuff when we speak all these virtual ideas. But when you get to the real world, you're like, whoa, right? Like, for example, you talk about LGBTQ plus in the virtual world, it's absolutely perfect and beautiful. Perfect and beautiful. Go live in a community, you go, whoa. Diversity is a motherfucker. It's all over the place. You got some people that do represent the story that we see of the best of the culture, but we forget it. All culture has kind of a rough side too. And the rough side is never in that discussion. So if the rough side happens to show up in a space and get judged by their true actions, we'll judge them as if they're in the best space, and often victimize a person who was actually protecting themselves. So it's complex. I'm not saying, I don't have at the end of the day, all human beings are valuable and all human beings are good to me, right? And I value the best performer. Danielle's our best designer. I don't give a shit what Danielle is. If she was male, female, trans, LGBT plus, and anything else you want to bring into the category, I'm riding with her because I believe in good people. But I also understand that if I was hiring an African-American executive and they haven't escaped their trauma and they still trapped in their thought, but they have a college degree, I'm not sure what position I would take. Will your historical traumas hold you back, or would you start to smother my company because of some traumas you've been experiencing? I have to understand that from culture, but if you try to say that in a Facebook page, I like, hey, I didn't hire this person because culturally they were suffering from their historical background and I'm having to be Caucasian, oh, they're gonna rake me across the coal. So in the end, I gotta make closed room decisions. Back in the days, 17 years ago, Genentech had a different, I don't know if they have it anymore, because they may get caught. But the leaders of Genentech at the time had a different path for success for Asian people, because they were harsh managers, and they often would just piss people off. So they would allow them to still get the same level of growth, but just they would find places where it wasn't so heavy around people leadership skills, but it was more or less based on their intelligence, and they get their rewards. But they would put them over like large groups of people to because their cultural differences, they just showed up differently to this certain cultural group, and they had cultural clashes. And neither group meant any harm. It wasn't like Asians were racist or sexist. They just had cultural fucking differences. Like some of y'all got your ass when you was coming up. So the way you respond to problems, you want to punish somebody and whoop that ass. But in some environments where, but in some cultures that just even that thought is inappropriate, right? But that's your almost innate response. What the fuck you say? I mean, excuse me, John. What do you say? like that's no. And when you're a leader, it has to be your default way of moving, or you have to train yourself how to move like that. So these are things that's just hard to have a conversation in the public forum, because then it's going to come down to, oh, I made a decision because I didn't like your skin color. And although that does exist out there, because we're not trying to say it doesn't exist, but it's all mixed together in a world of 8 billion people. It's hard. It's a complex thing. It's a complex conversation. So I'm not trying to push anybody in any particular direction in this conversation. I'm saying it's way more complex. And when you build, the complexities start to come out and roars and start to face you. But if you're not building anything and you're just judging from afar, it's so neat. Your brain does that anyway. It's gonna make everything look so neat and nicely compartmented. Oh, just put this over here and this next, and it just worked together. Yeah, but you forgot how those people do drugs. That's right. It's like, that's the reality of life. Like, have you been around these high school kids? You would think, oh, these kids are so cute. catch them by themselves. You be like, what? They all need to go to jail. Every last one of them. All of them. Put them in straight jackets and start putting chemicals. These kids fucked up, right? But, yeah, it's just it's. Yeah. Yeah, it's a different game. It's a different game. So when you judge them from, you're projecting, you're not seeing people. And when you start seeing people, the world's complex. The world's complex. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not pro or con. I'm saying learn to separate judging virtually and judging in reality. And I think what you suffer from sometimes is that you have this guiltness of, it should, I should, this should. And I'm trying to get you to think through mental models and own that. And if you want to be kind and good, then go home and be kind and good to your family. Be kind and good to yourself first, if anything. But stop trying to project on to the way the world should be. Because what you'll find is like, I'm going to share a crazy story. When I was in 8th grade, when I was 21, I told myself I was going to go celibate for a whole year because I wanted to just learn how to really treat women a certain kind of way. And if I'm not serious, I'm not going to have sex at all. I really did this. It lasted 8 months, but it's still a point. The point was this. So when I was sitting around trying to be wholesome, the women treated me like I was trash. I had a roommate, and he was, hey, man, if we saw one, somehow they was in his room tonight. I was like, how in the fuck is he? And he wasn't even trying to be like discreet. He was just like, hey, I saw you looking at me. Come on over here. And I'd be like, that shit worked? One day I was like, fuck it, I'm tired of this. This is gonna break my loins. I can't do this no more. Right? I just use loins. I think loins is the greatest word ever. It's the greatest word ever. I don't think that word should ever die. Anyway, so I was like, fuck this, and I just started getting rude. And the beautiful woman that's hung out with me was ridiculous. And you would say, and the same women would be the preachers of how men should be this way, but they were attracted to men over here. That's how complex life is. So when you let people just, this is what I want in business, this is how I think you should show up, this is what I think I lead in life, and then all of a sudden they run away with the dude with the Timberlands. You're like, what the fuck? And so that's the complexity of life. That's just the complexity. Yeah, that's the complexity. Hey, just, one of them thoughts just hit my head like, shoo. Sorry, y'all, I lost myself for 1 second. I'm sorry. It happens every once in a while. Shakina, go back to your magnificent reading, please.
Put simply, Oliver wasn't a Ferrarin Adria type of chef. His brilliance in the kitchen wasn't an innovative or technical style.
He wasn't perfect. Listen, that's the key word. He wasn't perfect, y'all. Keep going.
It was his everyman approach.
Mm-hmm.
This meant that other chefs could easily replicate his cooking while also allowing a price point for dishes that kept demand high. In this way, he had circumvented the catch-22 that makes most great chefs unscalable. While Adria's secret ingredient was the man himself, Oliver's secret ingredient was his ingredients. And unlike humans with special talents, ingredients are eminently scalable.
So Oliver built smart systems. Whatever business you run, when you're first building it, you got to build it. So you're all hands in. Once it gets easy to you, start recording the process. Look at the process that brings your product to the market. When you start to outsource the process, if the quality of the process drops by 10%, the market will not notice. How do you make the market not notice 10%? It's marketing, branding. How many times have you went to a restaurant that didn't have the best burger, but you just like going there? I bet you do it more than you realize. If you guys actually go back and look at your budget, what you spent through the year, you probably spend more money on branding, eating through your branding, than eating through taste. I mean, these places, you like the food, it's cool. You know places is better, but maybe there's hurdles that makes you uncomfortable. But this place here, I can go here, get a great meal, have a great time, be around great people, and I can go home, right? Or it'll be ready quickly. Or when it always tastes the same. They never mess it up. Those subtlety things, right? There's ways, once you drop it 10%, there are responsibilities to keep the customer showing up. But I promise you, if you were to go to any of your top brands and go there when they first started, the quality dropped at least 10%. Because once you mass produce, it changes. And then you work on making the mass production constantly improve. See the difference? So just because you drop 10% doesn't mean you stay down there at 10%. You can actually increase 20% if you constantly use creativity now with the team you built. Because when you first make the transfer, it's really hard for even a cold packer to make the same sauce every time and time and time again. But as you learn more about cold packing, as you build better relationship with cold packers, as you find better cold packers, as you become one of their top customers, they become more incentivized to get a better alignment. And even in the process of the experiment, you may even come up with something much better than your original mix. So don't become this chef. Once again, the reason he's able to scale his restaurants, he kept it simple. He made it easy to replicate. He came up with processes. So when a person came in there, I can train you within 2 or 3 weeks and you cooking in my kitchen. Not you got to go to a culinary school and work out with was a Hell's Kitchen to learn how to cook in my space. This just doesn't make any sense. Next slide.
The first was managing director Simon Blagden. A seasoned executive, Blagden had been running business operations for Jamie's Italians since the chain's inception and was almost eerily adept at knowing where, when, and how to open new locations.
That was his original. Okay, that's his original executive. Keep going.
It was a unique and hard-to-scale skill, one that involved leveraging his years of experience in the restaurant industry to determine exactly whom to choose as franchise partners, ideally business partners whose values aligned with Oliver's and who would prioritize sourcing good organic ingredients and maintaining high food quality.
Let me pause here real quick. Here's an assumption that it's easy to assume you guys would understand, but when you're in the real world, let me tell you where the gap is. So if you look at what Simon is doing, Simon is actually making sure that before the restaurant lands or the business grows and lands to a second location, it's a good location. Now, mind you, he's franchising, so he's letting other people partner with him. They're going to share the same mindset, going to verify that they will not compromise the quality. So that means that McDonald's does this all the time. McDonald's does auditing. They audit all their franchises to make sure that there's a consistency in the way that people are showing up. Let me tell you, going back to what was talked about earlier, which is the person, you get so excited because people tell you, oh, you need to come over here, come over here. And that's a space where the ownership kicks in. So even though people are like, oh, you should put a space in LA, because there's so many black, they won't love you in LA, right? That could be a clue to go investigate and create curiosity and see if it's worth going over there. But the decision to get there is a process. Let me say this again. You got to build processes. As you get larger and larger and larger and larger, a lot of your decisions is going to have to come from. Now, if your processes become too broad, it's called bureaucracy, right? Now you're trash. But you have to learn, like, for example, before they landed in a location, Simon started a process to make sure it was the best possible location, reducing risk. But if you don't have process, then you're putting something into place and praying to God that everything goes right. And trust me, when you go into that motivational, inspirational shit, this is why I don't like inspirational teaching, because inspiration is contagious, and also you start making some decisions unconsciously because of inspiration and motivation, and you're making the worst decisions in the world. Remember at all time, this class is for leaders. You are the leaders of all your decisions. But if your ego tells you could do everything, you do a lot of things poorly. There's some things you're going to have to put into a process or even invest. So let's say there was a guy that you had to spend $10,000 that would do that for you. It's better to spend $10,000 with him than to spend $2 million to find out that later on it was a bad idea. So you guys learn like when you look at spending large sums of money with companies and corporations, you start seeing it with the investment. Once you start understanding the value of process, now you understand why somebody might spend, 25 grand for a piece of software. Or they may spend $40,000 for a consultant to come in and work on a certain project because they understand the value of the process. But when you're a new entrepreneur, you think it's all value is based upon labor. It's not. If you want to solve problems better, don't work harder, come up with better solutions. Let me say this again. If you want to solve problems better, and I mean a lot better, don't work harder, come up with better solutions. Working harder, at some point, it's going to destroy you. Because at some point, it's going to accumulate and it becomes too weighted for you, and you can't hold that building up anymore. But when you come up with better solutions, you learn to leverage these problems with better solutions, and all of a sudden, running your business is not so heavy on you. It's not destroying your personal life. It's not destroying your family life. It's not destroying your psychological condition. All right? Keep rolling, Shakina.
Even if it meant lower profits. Blagden also oversaw a positive company culture that kept the retention rate of the kitchen staff high.
So real quick, your business culture, we talked about culture earlier, right, Lily? The reason you have to learn that, the reason that it's so easy for entrepreneurs to translate to larger and broader cultures, because that's what you do for a living. You're a culture controller. You create cultures. When you have a poor economic system, you have an underserved culture. When you have a rich economic system, you have a highly controlled culture or highly engaged culture. So when you're running a business, you got to pay attention to the culture. Okay, so they were saying, like, I was listening to, what's the name over the Mavericks, the coach of the Mavericks. He said, on a basketball team, you don't have all great players. You need a balance of different kind of personalities. It's like a chemistry of the right personalities that make a great basketball team, right? I mean, can you put Kevin Durant, DeMarcus Rosen, Ben Simmons, I'm trying to think of some people that got mental health problems. Russell Westbrook and Love. Kevin Love on the same team on street ball and they do well? Yeah, they could. Could they win a championship? No. Because there has to be a gelling and a balance. Draymond Green and Steph Curry is a hell of a nice balance. To talk about Draymond Green based upon how many balls that go into the you know what I'm saying? Look here, hey, pause. How much he scores? Yeah, I got to change those words. How much he scores? Then you cannot really see the value of Draymond Green. And neither do you understand culture. However, what he said, what Mark Cuban said, is I can have one dude who's acting up, but I can't have two dudes that's acting up because it brings the culture down. Sometimes you will let go of a star player because they're damaging the culture, not because it's all about skills. But if you look at everything through the glasses of efficiency, you don't understand the value of culture. You're letting somebody who's cultureless or culture damaging. So you got somebody in the office and they're just causing headaches and problems, but they're the best performer, they got to go. Now, mind you, you can work with them first and try to see if you can like calm them down or adjust them. You know, I do suggest you try to engage them first. You don't just be like, "Oh, you tripping? Get the fuck out of here," right? But you're gonna find out very, very quickly that people behavior matters just as much as their skills matter. They have equal value to you. So when he said that he made sure that he maintained the culture in the kitchen, you got to think about in your office. Now, where does culture start? It's not them, it's you. This is why as an entrepreneur, you have to do the work on yourself first. If you don't do the work on yourself first, you are the first destroyer of culture. If you fucked up, you don't create great cultures from a fucked up personality. And so that's why you're always doing the personal work. This is why entrepreneurs are always doing self-help and self-development and working on their psychological state. A lot of entrepreneurs go get counseling all the time. Because if I'm fucked up, my team's fucked up. If my team's fucked up, my money's fucked up. My dream's fucked up. My goal's fucked up. So same thing with parenting. If you got bad kids, it's probably because you got some bad fucked up shit going on in your house. Work on yourself. Number two, you don't control your kids. But 3, a lot of the behavior is just copy and pasting your behavior you can't see. Parenting starts with you, not the kids. That's why I hate these parenting books like, then you do this, and then when you do this, you do this, and then you just, what about a fucked up mother? She can do all that shit, the kid's still fucked up. You can't put whipped cream on shit. That's a hard contrast. Shut up. Shut up. I don't even want to hear it. All right. Y'all missing. Lily was about to tell us her mama said. Okay. So, all right, Shakita, go ahead and rev it up again.
Okay. No easy task. Well, should I start over just so they?
No, where we at? Where we at?
No easy task.
Yeah, start that sentence.
The sentence over, yeah. Blagden also oversaw a positive company culture that kept the retention rate of the kitchen staff high. No easy task in an industry in which fast and frequent turnover is a norm. Blagden's business instincts had been honed over time, particularly when it came to hiring and working with the right people. He was indispensable to Oliver's enterprise as it began to scale.
Let me see something real quick. We're going to get to this in a second. Oliver was part of his scaling formula. There are certain people on your team that are so valuable to your scaling. All employees are not equal. LeBron James, you get him on your team, you're not really trying to negotiate switching out LeBron James. But would you switch out Derek Fisher? Maybe. Would you switch out Jordan Poole? Maybe. Would you switch out Steph Curry? Not in your motherfucking life. Steph Curry sets the stage, and I would almost argue Steph Curry, and right now, unless they have another plan, Draymond Green and Steph Curry is the Warriors. And when Klay comes back, he'll be the third member. And everybody else that comes in the team is working in that system. But if you pull, if they were to take KD and switch him out with Steph, the Warriors would no longer exist the way we know the Warriors. Because KD believes in his ego's too big, right? So when you're scaling, you got to start to recognize who are the key people that are going to help you scale your company as you hire new employees. And be careful, never make that judgment right away. Base that judgment on their performance, not on your friendship with them. When you first start, matter of fact, me and Shakina had this conversation the other day. Be careful friending your clients. Be careful friending your clients. You'll stop running the business and you'll start working on building a community group. And you start using your time poorly. 2, your clients will always like you. Your clients will go up and down, but don't make your business personal. Don't make it one day you happen to get drunk and you flirt with the dude that they wanted to get at and they want to fuck with you, and now they have access to the rest of your clients in your personal life. Learn how to give them a friendship experience, but grow your fucking business. The friends you want to have your friends. But don't have customers come in like, oh my God, I can see me and you. Oh my God, you love me, I love you. We can be friends. No, the fuck you can't. Just can't. Like, but they should feel like they're your friend. The reality of everybody in this room, you're probably only gonna have no more than 5 close friends because your brain can only handle so many. But don't make everybody walk in that play space. They should feel like they're like they coming home to hang out with a friend. But it's different than I was at their house last night. And if you have a business that is a sexy-based business, don't sleep with your clients. I'm just gonna warn you. Because if you have a sexual energy in your business, that sexual energy will turn all your clients into great salespeople. But you'll fuck it off if you fuck it off. Oh, gosh. Yeah. Where were we, Shakita? Next slide?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Let me get to the next slides. All right. Next slide.
Even though Oliver wasn't the one cooking the food that was served under the banner of his name around the world, his impact on each one of his restaurants could be felt. Unfortunately, Oliver underestimated his own importance to his chain.
So Oliver is a brand. Brand is a culture. When you hire people, the way you show up is echoing Oliver's culture. The way people show up in your business is echoing your culture. And so when people experience your culture, is your business, they should feel like they're all experiencing you, even though they're talking to different members. And that's part of your training system. So everybody that works in your store will show up to the customer. That's part of the training. Is their personality matches your personality. So, for example, you ever you have a customer service job and they tell you how to greet a customer, how to suggest a sale, all these different things you're supposed to do to serve the customer? That person is just training you on how they would have done it in that position, and they made it formal. That's called customer service training. It's not something generic. It's relative to your branding style. Like, what is that? The chicken space that your car break down, they come out and try to work on your car. No, what's the one the one that's homophobic? Chick-fil-A, yeah. Oh, you said Chick-fil-A. I thought you said AAA. I thought you said AAA. I was like, AAA, boy, no, I can't stand Josh sometimes. This cat think I hope you don't call AAA for some chicken. Anyway, what is this? Yeah, Chick-fil-A service is insane. They're known for their service. Like nobody has service like them. But they came from the owner saying, this is how I would show up in this space. They didn't just say, what is fast food service technique is? How do we copy and paste this? Every part of your business is room for innovation. Every part of your business is in the room for innovation. And why is that important? Because at some point as your business grows, every part of your business is making a profit, even your trash. As you grow your business for market share and also to monetize a larger portion of your business. And so you're always innovating in every area of your business. You know, think about it this way. You guys ever watch Star Trek? Anybody watch Star Trek before? Anybody? Just you? Just one person watch Star Trek? You guys never seen Star Trek? You watched it once, right? You might see Star Wars. Okay, between Star Trek and Star Wars, has anybody seen neither one of them? Any movie where they fucking drive ships in the sky and the other ships just like those ships, okay? Why is it that one starship can make it and another starship can't? Y'all some old educated, overeducated. I don't know what Star Trek. Motherfucking millennials. but so to say, but seriously, anybody notice that one ship can last a long time and one ship gets knocked out of the air in no time at all? Right? What's the difference? It's not the ship, right? It's not all the techniques and what the ship can do, its capabilities. It's the mindset running the ship. That's the most important thing to understand. You can all build great ships, but the mindset behind the ship dictates the success of the ship. That's an easy way to think, like, kind of frame it. Come on, Shakeen, let's keep going.
Scale. His brother-in-law, Paul Hunt, a former stockbroker.
So that alone right there says no creativity. And so you say stockbroker, real estate person, you know what they suffer from the most? Too fucking efficient. They suffer from creativity. They're so about numbers, efficiency, and do exactly what it takes to get point A to point B. So in the end, all they do is their innovation sucks. But keep going.
Hunt had been fined for insider trading in 1999, suggesting he wasn't the best fit for the values-oriented culture of Jamie's Italian.
So why was he the best fit for insider trading? Means that he has a greed problem. He has an ego problem. He possibly has a status problem. Not that he did something wrong. You don't care about him doing something wrong. Does he still have an ego problem? Does he have a status problem? And does he have a greed problem? Go.
More importantly, Hunt hadn't logged the years of experience in the restaurant industry that the job required. Hunt was good at taking an axe to those branches of Oliver's businesses empires that had run into debt and were hemorrhaging money, but he lacked Blagden's magic touch when it came to the critical tasks of selecting new sites and partners for expansion.
So what they just said was what I just told you. Simon was creative. Hunt was efficient. So we were all raised, all the black folks here and the Latino folks that's listening, most of us raised from working class families. So we value efficiency and hard work. But creatives never like to be working hard. I remember when Court first came to class, he's like, yeah, Blur, I wish I could be like you going for bike rides at 2 o'clock in the daytime. Right? And somebody else might see me like, you went to run stairs at 3 o'clock then the next day? And then the next day they may see me at a cafe and I'm sitting there like this with my eyes closed. I'm like, what the fuck? How are you fucking making money, bro? But you should see my idea output. It's crazy. That's what you got to do. Idea output and creativity output doesn't look like a labor-based output. So when you start practicing it, even I feel guilty. People are like, man, I just worked 12 hours. I'm so tired. I was in front of my computer the whole time. That's why you suck. Go ahead, pass the microphone again.
I'm not understanding that. I guess the example you just gave as far as you said your idea, your creative output.
Yeah. So what we talked about earlier, and just kind of give you a quick highlight that earlier, was that creativity works when your brain gets space to put together. They put together the ideas, right? So creativity doesn't come from scratch. It doesn't come from some spiritual energy going, here's an idea, right? It comes from the input. But you're taking in all this information, like I'm reading an hour and a half a day, right? A problem happens, it doesn't come in neat and clean like something I read. It's just something unique, which happens all the time. If I try to solve the problem right then and there, your brain gets stuck. So, you know, every time you remember somebody's name, you're like, what's that person's name? You may be calling that person's name all week long, but your brain just, right? But if you just relax your brain and go do something that's like go exercise, all of a sudden your brain starts to put things together and you're having all these eureka moments and they're just popping up, right? The key thing is you write them down as fast as you can. Because if you don't write them down, you get back, you won't remember one of them fucking ideas. But you change the world, right? People don't realize that innovators and creators create space for innovation and creativity to unfold. Efficiency people don't leave any space. If they work for 8 hours, they're trying to fill that 8 hours with tasks. Creative people going, no, I'm not. Otherwise, my creativity's gonna deteriorate. So to be able to just sit back and just chill, or even listen to some people, or just watch some things. Or my father, God bless his soul, he would take me to Berkeley, and his favorite thing was to go sit in Berkeley. I told you my father was a major dope dealer. But my father was a dope dealer. He was a high-level dope dealer. Like, nobody on the streets would ever saw him. He's like corporate, professional people, right? 25 years, never went to jail. Police never knocked on our door. I didn't know police I didn't think drugs was illegal when I was growing up because it was just, because he lived such a different structured life. But he was very innovative. I know that sounds crazy, but drug dealers are extremely innovative. And one of the things he would do to practice his innovation, 2 things. He was a longshoreman who didn't work. He paid them to not let him work. So he would just go and sit and read a newspaper, right? And then when the shift was over, he'd go home, but he was really doing business. Or he would go to Berkeley City Center and just watch people and come home with ideas.
Wait, you said you paid them not to work.
Yeah, he wasn't gonna work. He's the money launderer.
He paid them to go there and,
Just sit so he look like he has a money trail. He wasn't working.
so he would look like he was getting money there.
Yeah. He had no bank account. We had a big ass safe in the house that was underneath the floor. And he never really worked. He would go and work at longshoreman every once in a while. He had that responsibility. And I never forget, he broke up with his girlfriend because I came home and I saw her saying about she was going to put his money in the bank. And I told him, and he was mad as fuck. You know, he's like, don't ever put my fucking money in the bank. They don't break it up that day. So, childhood crazy. Point is this. Crazy childhood, I promise you. Like, I know the Black Panther is different than you. I know the Black Panthers because my father was a hitman for the Black Panthers. So the dope dealing side of Black Panthers, he was that part of the Black Panthers. And when he left the Black Panthers, they beat him almost to death. So it was cocaine and prostitution was a real thing in the Black Panthers. But they weren't bad, they were just kids who took on more than they can handle. Anyway, so when people talk about Black Panther, oh my God, the Black Panther, thinking, yeah, okay, all right, yeah. They were kids, man. They were just kids. And they meant the best, but they were just kids. They weren't generals, they were kids. But anyway, go back to the other point is, what was discussing? I got too far from my father. Shit. Oh, creative ideas. So you bring somebody into your company that's creative, that's too efficient, it will destroy it. If you develop departments in your company and you have a creative team and an efficiency team, separate them. Because efficient people will destroy creative people, and creative people will hate efficient people. Because the efficient people, like they're at the desk playing with Rubik's Cubes, walking around, having food. Yeah, this motherfucker's been walking around for 7 hours. But when it's time for that project, you'd be like, oh my God. It came from that process. But if he sat at his desk, so they were saying that, you know why creativity is going down in corporate America? Because people don't walk away from the screens. Not because you're working at home. They kept saying, oh, because people working at home, creativity's going down. No, they won't walk away from their fucking screens when they're at home. So they're in front of the screen for too many hours and creativity's dropping. In order for creativity to go high, jump your ass on a plane and go somewhere and come on back. When you running a business, your time away from your job is just as important as the time you spend at your job. Like I would go to New York once a year just to reset my creativity, because New York is such a rich ass creative space to be in. And if I couldn't get to New York, I might jump off of Seattle and find these little pockets that just are really rich in creativity and innovation. But when you get to New York, you get this hustle energy, you get this driving energy, you get this let's get this shit done energy, let's cut out the bullshit, all that fucking meetings, fuck your meetings, what you gonna do, what I'm gonna do, let's get this shit done. And you see the reflection of all this creativity everywhere you go, from the way things are designed, the artwork, the buildings, the people, the way that women are walking down the street. Like, you feel like I'm out in New York and I'm with my wife, but I'm a commercial photographer at the time. And my mouth is dropping at how well these women are dressed. They dress is so motherfucking cold. I'm like, God. I ain't talking about sexy cold like you would see in the video. I'm talking about high fashion, killing that shit to the highest level. That my mouth is open like it's so cold. And stay with me so you can see where I'm going with this. If a woman's breast was exposed by her outfit, you didn't care because it made her look so damn dope. Now, Atlanta's different now, you understand me? But in New York, it had me like, holy Jesus, these women are killing it. And it inspired me like, wow, look at the way they work in these fashion. Look at the way this, I remember Calvin Klein had this fashion show where the women came out nude partially. And like, you don't even see the nudity because it's just so beautiful work, right? Atlanta, I wouldn't make it. It's a different conversation. I'm going in there with dollars. This is a fashion show. I don't give a shit. I mean, Atlanta's just Atlanta. Even though Atlanta has some of the most polished black folks you've ever seen, some of the best dressing black people you'll ever meet in your life is in Atlanta. I want to see who's the best dresser between LA and Atlanta, because they give each other a run for their money. I don't know. It's like Atlanta, it seems like they have micro designers. Like if the hair on your face is in the wrong place, they're positioned it right. It's just ridiculously great. Anyway. Kenny, ready? All right, let's do this.
As the future CEO of Jamie's Italians would say in a public post-mortem, we were opening too many restaurants too quickly in the wrong place.
So there was only too many restaurants too quickly because efficiency does that in the wrong places. Efficiency is like a drug. You get addicted to being efficient. Have you ever built something before and then you realize you did something wrong, but you didn't want to take everything apart again because you're trying to get the shit over with? Right? We're creative. We'll tear that whole shit apart and do it again until it feels right to them. That's the difference. Efficiency has its place, but you got to be able to. If you're running your company, you got to know when efficiency is overstepping its boundaries, and when creativity is overstepping. Sometimes creativity is just too fucking creative. You're like, yo, you got to be more efficient with this shit. Gotta get this job done. I ain't got time for that shit. But you also got to find that perfect balance between efficiency and creativity when running a company. You don't want to be all efficient. You want to be all creative. Trust me, I've done all creative before. Damn, they don't get shit done. And they start to fall into perfectionism. But efficiency is when a professional is somebody who could deliver the job when they promise to deliver the job. That's a perfect balance between efficiency and creativity. Next one, Shigina.
Hunt wasn't very good at retaining employees
Efficiency.
either, which made him unprepared to maintain the positive company culture at scale.
Going to hell. Keep going.
Former employees of Oliver's company would later describe him as a bully and a sexist, which torpedoed company morale. For the record,
So for efficient people, I'm becoming more of a creative leader. In my early stages, I was an efficient leader. Just get your ass over, get the fucking job done, get top of that. And people would do it, but you don't realize you're reducing their creativity. You gotta know how to still push people while you push them by getting them to join you on the mission, not pushing them by saying, shut up and follow me. And when you get them to join the mission, you sell them efficiency as being important, as opposed to telling them if you don't get it done in 15 minutes, fuck you, you're fired. It doesn't work for great creative people. You got to know how to managing great creative people is different than managing. If you have a room full of like accountants, it's a totally different game. You have a room full of like very like line workers, totally different conversation. But if you got a room full of people who are creative decision makers, you have to manage them totally. I don't give timelines. I don't give rigid timelines to my creatives. What I say is, on Thursday, can you have this to me? And then I check in with them softly and say, hey, did you make sure you take care of these things, or keep an eye on these things, or don't forget these things that you're managing. I know you're carrying a lot of stress. But I become more of a coach for them than a micromanager. Don't micromanage creatives. They will leave your ass by yourself so quick. You couldn't work one day, you'd be by your motherfucking self. Matter of fact, if you ever have a designer design a logo for you and you sit over their shoulder, you're gonna pay 10 times as much. It's gonna take that much more time. If you leave them by themselves, they could probably do it in 1 hour. Probably, maybe 2, depends on what their creativity yields them. But if you're over there, show like, no, I don't know. Do you know what that's like to a creative? That's like you stabbing somebody in the back every time you talk. I don't know. I don't give a fuck. That's it's real. Go ahead, Kaja.
How do you leverage that? And this came up a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember the podcast that was talking about planning.
A plan? Yes, plan.
Yeah. It made me think of all those sayings I've heard in my career along the way, like proper planning prevents piss poor performance. What gets measured gets done. Failing to plan is planning to fail. And those have been tenets for me in my career that, being honest, they've worked in a certain environment. It feels, as I start to move around more in an entrepreneurial space, like I'm the only one observing timelines. And so it feels a little, not like a taskmaster, but I don't want to jump in and be like, okay, so can I give you like a timeline, or can we like lay out a timeline of this? It's kind of like I'm coming in, even though I'm spending my money with you, like, hey, do you think you're going to be finished with that anytime soon? When I want to be like, I'm paying you and I need it on the 5th. So on the 1st, I'm going to ask you, are you almost done? Because the 5th is right around the corner. So it's like the balance between if you don't have a plan in place, it's whatever, versus not interrupting people's creative process.
So, okay, let's unpack that. By the way, that's excellent contextual example. First of all, let's talk about some hidden. Remember, I said in the real world, things are hidden, right? When you hit a certain pay scale, you deal with a lot of shit. The reason you hire bigger teams because they can hit timelines. They have more redundancy, right? If I hire Josh to take pictures for me, Josh can get sick and not deliver. But if I have Josh and Jasadi, Josh knows wherever he can collapse, Jasadi can pick it up. They build teams to make sure they can maintain a professional outcome. If you get a deal, you pay a cost. Let's say that real quick. When you get a deal, you pay a cost, right? So like, for example, Fight Team Media, we don't miss deadlines. We just don't, like, I can say that with confidence because I built that system to say, I don't give a fuck if you've been coming in motherfucker with a cast on, that shit better be here, right? And then I built redundancy, so no longer do I have to require you to come on show with your cast. If Danielle falls off, I got backup to backup to backup, right? I even have outside relationships to protect that backup. But all that cost, all that's a premium. So first of all, when you say that, if you're working with people beneath the premium line and they just totally are creatives, then quite often that's common, right? That, trust me, is more common. Shakina can tell you, that shit's so goddamn common to make your nose bleed. And every entrepreneur in here is going to face that until you're ready to pay for the real level of services, right? That's number one. Number two, you're right. There should be planning, but planning also is a responsibility of yours. Meaning you can't plan in a rigid way. Your urgency is not that creator's urgency. If your lack of planning to give that space for that creative to have room to be creative, then that's also your fault. So I have no problem with your planning, but you have to be able to provide space for creative space to work. Just like if you are efficiency, like you seem like you anchor a little bit more towards efficiency, which is, I don't want you to walk around like something's wrong because nothing's wrong with you. It's that you got to build room and learn how to design room for creative things to happen and creative people to flourish. If you walk in there and just try, and that means that you have to develop some creative space for yourself, because otherwise you're going to always sabotage the creativity you desire. And you won't do it consciously. It's because you're too heavily on the efficiency side. So you're right about planning. It needs to be a balance. When you find people who try to go too far on the other side, they're usually not, it's usually a room full of people who are not professionals. What makes you a professional is being able to deliver a product based upon when you promise. And what I tell people all the time is always under promise. I'll tell people, oh yeah, I'll have it for you in 2 weeks. I can have shit done in like 2 days. But I gave myself some creative room to work on it, step the fuck back, look at it, come back at it, finish it, put it away, look at it again, like, who designed this shit? That's happened to me before, right? Where like in our team, where we do something, come back, look at them like, we did that shit? Oh, come on, we gotta fix that shit. But if I was under this urgency thing, you may have got that. And I may have thought it was great at the time. But once my rose-colored glasses was taken off and I saw it was shit, I don't even have a chance to autocorrect that. And we left with two people feeling burned. I feel like whatever burned because I had to rush it. You feel burned because you didn't feel like it was my best quality work. So managing creatives is also dancing in a timeline and finding the right people and realize the best creatives are going to cost money. So it is a formula in itself. It's not just it's no binary answer like, oh, just this or just that or just this or just that. It really is about, okay, so you say just be honest. Oh, I'm more efficient focused. Okay, so I am trying to learn how to design better for creative spaces. And trust me, sometimes when you design for creative spaces, it's going to irritate the fuck out of you. Because you're going to see somebody, you're going to have this one guy who busts his ass and he gets paid $200,000 a year. And this other person who literally at their desk on the phone calling their partner get paid $300,000 a year, but they land like a motherfucker. But you're like, this motherfucker, I can't, oh my God, get the fuck off this phone. What the fuck wrong with him? Or you in a meeting, you have a deep ass conversation, and they just doodling. You better let them doodle. Let them doodle that. Mashama will doodle on me all day long. But when it comes time for him to show up, he's a superstar. But if I was like, man, would you put the motherfucking pencil down and look at me in my face? That's not the kind of man he is. Nah, I don't even look at you. I see you enough. It's a hell of a war for efficiency people work with creatives, and vice versa. If any of you guys are more creative, it's a hell of a war to work with people on the efficiency side. Because they always like, what are the timeline, dates, timeline? You're like, oh, you want to shut the fuck up? Let me think, right? And so it's like, it's a different energy. So you got to learn how to, and I can manage both sides. You got to become a hybrid over time. Not right away. You're not supposed to be a hybrid. You have to exercise that hybrid behavior. Right? And don't beat yourself up. Because the more you beat yourself up, the more you create sludge and drudgery in your change. It makes it hard for you to change. Just say, well, shit, I got to work on myself. Okay, well, I fucked up again. I got to work on it again. And smile it away. And literally smile it away and look for the next opportunity to try again. And even try to find opportunities where it's not that serious to try again until you bake it into your new personality. All right? All right, where we at, Chiquita?
For the record, Oliver publicly defended his brother-in-law and sought to diminish Hunt's blame.
So you bring somebody in, so let me show you what's happening here. This is so cold and so deep at the same time. He brings his brother-in-law in, and he has a bias because it's his brother-in-law, right? Like, I love my brother-in-law. He's hella funny. How could y'all be tripping? It must be y'all. Plus, he fired Tina because Tina just asshole anyway. She wasn't that good anyway. Now, if Simon was managing Tina might be the number one employee. So even when you're trying to manage, if you're trying to play the blame game from the outside, you can't. Same thing why you can't play the blame game in relationships. If anybody in this room said, my boyfriend or my girlfriend, and I respond, I'm the fool. All I can say is, all I want to talk about is you, because I can't talk about that person at home. I don't know shit about y'all. I don't even understand how y'all might bring out a chemistry that you show up differently than you show up to me. So who you are talking to me right now may not even be representative of what you're going to do when you get in the house, right? And so same thing happens. When he made that judgment, in your business, where there's smoke, there's some fire. When you get a complaint from your employees, you instantly start investigating quietly, passively, have numerous conversations, and watch this. Then when you finally confront the person, don't become a prosecutor. Ask questions that are so neutral to see if there's any fire there. Because sometimes, in some cases, it ain't even them. It could be the person, it could be another layer to the story. But when you play prosecutors, you're using a very elementary system to solve complex problems. But become a quiet investigator as soon as you hear, if your employees are saying, I'm uncomfortable, because remember, the number one people in your company are not the management team. It's the frontline employees. That's where all the money comes first. So if the frontline employees hate their job, guess who they treat like shit? The customer. So you gotta keep them, you gotta keep mama and daddy happy so they can go ahead and make you your money. I didn't want to say that all day. So in the end, keeping the front line happy is keeping your brand alive. So instantly just defaulting to leadership, you got to always, and you don't want to just go smash on leadership, because in leadership, every layer of your company, the group beneath them is their customer. So for your management team, the frontline employees are their customers. You guys get that? And the manager above you, the manager beneath them. So for every layer underneath the person running the company, the group beneath them, they should treat them like customers, which is, I'm here to serve you so you can perform higher in your job. Not I'm here to tell you what to do because my ego tells me I know more than you. Right? So if everybody at your company grows, work to serve, it makes a better, healthy culture. But if you get one little crazy guy like Oliver come in there and I'm gonna fix everything, I know what to do. This is why a lot of consultants build a bad reputation, because they try to walk into companies as if they know everything. You don't know shit. Your job is to help them unclog the system because the experts are already there. Where a lot of consultants do is they come in and like, you know what you're doing wrong, you need to fix this, you need to put this over here. Have you guys ever tried to fix somebody before and you cause more damage? That's very common. That's very fucking common. And so at the end of the day, Oliver comes in and he's playing efficiency, and he's trying to move numbers to prove he's qualified to be in that role, probably an MBA or an economist, and he's forgetting about people and their feelings. That's why at the end of the day, you can see a perfect group of steps to get you from point A to point B, but if you don't take account of the way people feel, you'll never get there. Where's Shakina? Set it off.
To make matters worse, by this time,
We're the same one, or are we different slide?
it's the next slide.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, keep going. To make matters worse. Okay, go ahead.
To make matters worse, by this time, Oliver had overstretched himself and was only able to devote a limited amount of time to Jamie's Italian.
So I'm giving y'all some insights that he just never going to tell you this. He drops a lot of weight on here, but he doesn't tell you the why. But because he's a business person, so a lot of stuff is like foundational for him, but for many of you guys, it's still valuable. So by this time, Oliver overstretched himself. That is exactly what efficient people do. And matter of fact, you know why he overstretches himself? Because he gains status. He or she gains status from being busy. It's that person that when you see him at the airport, like, so we went to LA recently, and there's this guy, and the way he was wearing his clothes, and he's on his phone. I said, "Oh, somebody needs to feel important today." Right? Efficiency people, if you get them with a little bit of status, they overstretch themselves. And you might say, "Oh, well, he overstretched himself. How do we fix that?" No, he did that unconsciously because it gave him status. And so when you run a company, you have to be able to say, hey, fix this shit. Cut that shit down. Like call it out before they get deeply into it, because you start to see the pattern unfold. And when you start seeing them show up at the meetings like, yeah, I was up all night. I was working on this project, but I'm glad to see you guys here. Long night last night. And anyway, I got this thing I want to present to you. You know, everybody does that every once in a while. But when you start to see that they wearing their busyness on their shoulders, pull them in. Hey. That's not a virtue here. Not a virtue. I need you to pause that shit. I need you to rank what's important, what's not important. Let's take some of that not important shit. Let's delegate some shit, and let the rest of us show up and figure that shit out as a team. But when you try to hero, listen to the word I'm saying here. When you constantly trying to hero through efficiency, it's almost like you're fighting too many villains by yourself. You're inevitably gonna die, and the rest of the team will die with you. Stop trying to hero shit. You got to learn the value of the team and others. This is why when you hire people, you hire different Avengers to help you solve problems. You don't hire civilians to fight Avenger problems. That's why you can't hire social justice. You can't be like, "Oh, you're a beautiful black woman. I want you in this role." Sorry, you can't fight. I don't give a fuck if you're pretty, ugly, skinny, big feet or whatever. It comes down to this. Can you serve that fucking role? Can you be an Avenger on the team? And if you look at the Avengers, nobody looks the same. Everybody don't look like Iron Man. Thank God. Right? That'd be the most egotistical Avengers team ever. Them cats would be hilarious. But everybody can't be Iron Man. Everybody's a balance and complexity of different people. But when you get heroes on your team, they're actually hurting the team, even if they... Okay, let's make it basketball term. James Harden is a hero. Carmelo Anthony is a hero. You ever seen Carmelo Anthony? If the ball touches his hand, I got to shoot. I understand the rotation, I understand the play, but once it touches my hand, guess what I'm going to do, baby? I got one job. Yak him. I miss. Come on, everybody get back. Let me get the ball back. Come get the rebound, pass it back. Pass it back. Come on, pass it back. Right? Heroes destroy teams. They just do. And that's as he's describing him, he's describing somebody who tried to hero a role. He's becoming an asshole. He's egotistical. He can't see himself. He thinks as long as I'm projecting, I don't have to pay attention to who I am. I need to control who you are. Huh? How would I manage LeBron James? Well, no. LeBron's actually furthest. I think Jordan's more the hero than LeBron was. LeBron's more like Magic Johnson. Remember, because LeBron makes everybody better, right? And he exploits that. He learns to invest in those differences. And really Jordan did too, but Jordan is more of a hero. Kobe is more the hardcore hero, but all of them also required you to show up in different ways. Some of them were a little more harsh, some of them were a little bit more sustainable, right? Kobe was not very sustainable. Nor was Jordan sustainable. They were some assholes, right? LeBron is more or less, if you watch LeBron, he managed Kyrie for a year. Now that we see how crazy he managed Kyrie. Shit. He's MVP now. That alone is like, could you imagine managing Kyrie for a year? Butterflies. Anyway, where were we?
His absence, combined with Hunt's limitations, resulted in a leadership void that prevented the company from adapting agilely to
That's the word, adapting agilely. He destroyed the agility of the company. I want you to pay attention to that, because the company has to constantly adapt. You have a rigidly efficient person, he or she is destroying creativity. When he or she destroys creativity, I should just say they. I'm gonna just say it for the fun of this. I'll play social justice for 5 seconds. Y'all know I don't give a fuck. But let's say they are destroying creativity, right? As they destroy creativity, your rigidity makes you fragile in a world where you need to be agile, meaning that you're destroying your ability to scale a company. Y'all see that? Roll.
adapting agilely to a changing market being undercut by app-driven food delivery services.
So when business change, a lot of companies who failed during COVID didn't make sense to me. I'm like, why did you fail? Why don't you just deliver your fucking products? Like, you don't even know if it's coming to your store. They ain't your guy. And I understand businesses where you got to come in and got to touch it. Like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel. I don't want this. It just doesn't feel good to my soul. It's not warm enough. I don't want this. I'm good. I understand that business, right? But you're like, hey, I want some juice. Then get the juice to fucking people. Oh, what the fuck wrong with you? How you broke? Like people willing to order juice delivered to their house. You got Ubers running, they ride with you. People got the patience built into it. They're like, yeah, but I just don't, and I just can't, and I don't have, and I just quit, and you wasn't meant to be in business. Bye. My favorite bakery was Mr. Holmes in San Francisco. Oh my, was it Mr. Holmes? Oh, it was God gift to pastries. And they went out of business because we just can't get the same flour anymore. Get your ass out of here. Bye. Die on the vine. Go ahead. Huh? Because being adaptable, they don't have it in them. It's this problem and the next one and the next one. Which one you want to take them out? So it's almost like you're keeping a dying belief alive. The key in business, you got to be agile. The rigidity that we practice in our culture does not work in the real world, because the world's gonna be throwing shit at you ain't never seen. The problems you're gonna face in business, you cannot imagine right now sitting in your chair. So agility is a major, major requirement. So if somebody says I'm not agile, I'm rigid, and I'm more about efficiency, bye. Who gives a shit? Bye. I can't fall in love with shit that's gonna go by. Bye. Go ahead.
Before I read, can I just make a comment?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, to the point of the Mr. Holmes Bakery, which was my favorite place. I would drive to San Francisco in the morning early on a Saturday, and anyone who knows me knows
Preach,
I
sister,
don't
preach. Amen.
wake up in the morning on Saturdays.
Jesus.
But I think to lend to what Nana was saying is that even if it wasn't the flour, because they were so rigid and caught up into their artistic story about it has to be this way, if there was a different supply chain issue, it would have led to the same thing unless the owners learned how to pivot and adapt. And I think that that's what, well, I don't know. That's my takeaway from Nana's story.
100% correct. 100% correct. Oh my God, that was such a blessing. I'm talking about some cold-blooded pastries. I'm talking about, okay, let's keep going, because this is real. It was so goddamn real, Kaja. Go ahead, go ahead. Go ahead.
Got me over here drooling on the microphone.
Hey, pause. Not drilling on nobody's microphone. Go ahead. Never gonna happen. Keep it rolling. Keep it going. You're not gonna get me with that one. You try to catch me slipping. Nope. It ain't that serious right now.
This is a useful reminder that being successful at scale isn't just about maintaining productivity, distribution, and demand.
So real quick, this is useful reminder that being successful at scale isn't just about maintaining. This is where the working class mindset kicks in. It's not about just maintaining productivity, distribution, and demand. Can you see how that can become addictive? And you think you're doing business because you're hitting those 3 points all the time? Keep going.
It's also about being nimble enough to adapt when the landscape starts to change.
I mean, it's going to change. You don't control that. Landscapes will always change. And by you working hard and being efficient means you're running a bad business. If you don't have adaptability built into your business, and being nimble to adjust to the automatic market changes, you don't get to blame the market. When gentrification hits the black community and all that language that's using, that's anti-business thinking. You can't claim gentrification if you don't own the property that you live on. If you haven't invested in the land that you're on, then you can't claim because things are going to change because you're not planting yourself in the ground so when it changes, you're with it. And you're not running an ingenuity system that says we're going to evolve to stay in that position. You don't get to stay the same nowhere in life. I'm 55. At the age of 55, I promise you I'm not the same. No, fucking no, I'm not the same. No, if Jordan said let's run right now, I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna cheat so much it's gonna be obvious cheating, and I'm gonna look at you like, what the fuck you even do, right? Because I'm different. There's nothing in your life's gonna be the same. You're gonna always change. So does your business, and so does the environment your business served. Your customers gonna change. Some of your customers gonna go from being young to being mature, to being married, to no longer having a single identity, to being older, to being dead. Right? Nothing stays the same. But where you can blind yourself is by walking there and being, I'm making sure I apply them, I'm working hard, I'm being efficient, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. You're not serving the market, you're serving your fear. Because part of agility, the other side of being agile, is you're embracing uncertainty and you're saying, okay, it's part of the game. But when you deny it as part of the game, you're being too rigid, and now you're back into the landscape of, distribution, demand, productivity. I mean, like we work hard and we make sure we meet the demands of the customer, and we got a clean distribution system going. I know we're a good business. Yeah, your shit sucked though. When BlackBerry was going down, they could have got you whatever you want. And Blockbuster was going down, they could have still got you a video. The reality is, they sucked. Because when the market changed and Netflix said, hey, what about staying home? What about keeping this shit as long as you want to keep it? Right? Where were you? I think they did red tape or red door or whatever it is. Redbox. Boo. Boo. So I got to go to the next guy who's asking me for $1 to give me a video. Boo. I got to buy a DVD to watch some shit. Boo.
Hey.
Oh. Young guys, old people. Keep going. Got to see your ass youth. Oh, AARP at 21. Anyway, go ahead. I believe in DVDs. Shit. They need to be like 8-track. That shit sounded so good. Go ahead.
Vinyl making a comeback. I mean, I don't see why not.
Stop, Grandma. look, baby Grandma. Come on, stop. Keep it going.
And if key people are spread too thin, remember, humans don't scale.
You can't cut people in half. I'll keep going.
And enterprise can become sluggish.
Yes. Let's keep going. All right. Next one. Okay. This is gonna be so good. I can't wait. We're gonna end the class on this stuff here. This is gonna be so good. This is so good. This is real. This is some shit I never taught before, but it's so important. Shakita, this is gonna be good for you too. Okay. Negotiables versus non-negotiables. This is gonna be really exciting. All right, let's go. Next slide. Oh, is it? Yeah, that's good. Go ahead.
The collapse of Jamie's Italian didn't stem from a false positive.
I mean that Jamie had a business that was scalable.
Taste buds don't lie. Or from the company not knowing its audience.
So obviously it knew its audience. It had a good product. Keep going.
Both the menu offerings and prices were designed to appeal to the middle-class diners.
So it wasn't designed for poor diners. And you got also too, this is where social justice is gonna make you uncomfortable. Who's my poor diner? Who am I designing this for? My poor diner, middle class diner. Walmart, one of the largest companies in the world, is designed for poor people, right? Neiman Marcus designed for extremely rich people, right? I don't know what Neiman Marcus numbers are, right? But Apple is designed for upper middle class people. It ain't designed for poor people. Ain't nobody buying them goddamn computers if you're poor, right? And so the reality is that that's okay. But you don't get to go to everybody. If Apple said we're gonna design computers for the super poor and the super rich don't want it. They don't. They don't want to come into a space where there's hella people to get service. I need to come into a space and they know my fucking name is just me. So a person with a lot of money have no problem spending $8,000 for a computer for you to leave me the fuck alone when I call in for service. Right? Because guess what's so important for that serious rich person? It's not status, it's time. It's not status, it's time. So, for example, if I waste a lot of time waiting in lines and talking to people and getting into systems, I'm gonna lose a lot of money. If my time is worth $10,000, $20,000, $100,000 an hour, me on phone for 40 minutes makes no fucking sense. So you'll find that they spend a lot of money to reduce time and quality of life, because at some point when you start to make a certain amount of money, when do you start to invest that money for some of your time back? Like, we didn't get in business to be a slave to business. We got in business to improve quality of life. We just forget about the quality of life. Okay, good going.
Rather, it occurred because Oliver didn't seem to fully understand the reasons for its ascendancy.
So Oliver didn't understand why he was growing. He was growing. He was making money, but he didn't see, why are you making money though, bro? Why are you growing? Right? Now, God forbid for black folks, we start thinking because we special. You don't see your secret sauce. Keep going.
He didn't appreciate the relevant conditions that had led to its success at scale, and which needed to stay in place in order to sustain high voltage.
This is so important. If you don't understand why your business works, what are the key things that make your business strong, you may destroy them in growth. Think about growth as, imagine getting ready for a wedding and you got 30 different vendors talking to you and you're the bride. If you're not absolutely clear on what you want, you start fucking up because of chaos alone and growth and changes and things are happening too fast and you forget you don't. The reason you hire a wedding assistant is so they can organize high value, what's very valuable to the bride who's getting married, right? But if they just respond to each vendor to please the moment or to mark efficiency, they forget what the bride wants. And even though you were highly efficient in your response to the vendors, you didn't satisfy the bride. Now, replace the bride with, in this scenario, in partial, okay, the bride is a business owner and the second part of the scenario, they're the customer. When you're making decisions as a business owner, you have to understand that you built a certain solution that customers love. But if you start responding to everything as it's coming at you and don't recognize what is your secret sauce, you may do an excellent job and destroy what the customers love. You gotta know what that is. You can't let your ego tell you because you're so good. You can't tell your ego tell you that you're just different. Yes, I'm different. You can't say that. You can't let your ego tell you. You got to literally learn and observe your competition to see where you fit in the equation so you know how to echo your value. And then manage that value. That means it becomes safeguarded and protected at all costs. I mean, if you get down to your lowest dollar is not zero. Your lowest dollar is that these core things are being threatened. If you don't protect those core things, the best idea still won't be successful. Once again, why does the starship fail and once the starship survive? It's the crew. Keep going.
Next chapter.
Oh, next one? Okay.
In Chapter 2, we saw that loss of voltage can result from misjudging the degree to which one's audience or customers are representative of the large population.
Mm-hmm.
But anyone wishing to scale an idea or enterprise must also take into the account the representativeness of the situation or the circumstances needed to scale.
Mm-hmm.
Where Jamie's Italians situational conditions at scale similar to those that were present at the chain's inception?
Mm-hmm.
The answer was yes, until certain indispensable pieces shifted.
So, he opens up a restaurant. He has a formula. He has a process. He first opens a restaurant. Everything's working because he stuck to the formula that got him there, right? And the formula was in alignment with the market it was seeking to serve. So I put this restaurant in Phoenix, Arizona. I examined the market to make sure that I had the right market to service my restaurant. I can survive amongst the competition that's already there. Boom, I land there. I even run tests by running different survey tests to decide that this is the best area for me to land my business. I get there, it's running really, really well. What destroys your restaurant is when the thing that got you there, that the most valuable thing, there's certain parts of your business that can't change, starts to shift. And if it ever changes, you must be able to make the decision to change it because you saw a huge market shift, not because you wasn't paying attention to it. Keep going, next one.
For any idea or enterprise, not just restaurant chain, to hold strong at scale, you need to know what the drivers of high performance are and do everything in your power to keep them in place.
Let me also add this to it. A lot of your employees that join your company join it because of your brand. They don't join it because they're just looking for some job to pay their bill. They want to tie their status to the status of the company. If you change that status, you may lose your top employees. Keep going.
To achieve this, before anything else, you must determine if your secret sauce is the chef or the ingredients.
So you got to first decide what makes your company strong. Is it you? Is it the pretty young person sitting there that's working at the front counter? Is it the very talented artist that's working in the company? Is it the top mechanic that's working there? What makes your company amazing? Now, if your company's only amazing because you have a great mechanic, then you got to start to figure out how to scale that quickly and broaden it out, right? How do you take the skills that make that person great and either shrink the offer and raise the quality of the output so now you have consistency from everybody who participates in the company, right? We were just talking about, like, we recently went to this pizza place. Ayers Minis was closed. And so I was like, yo, Ayers Minis is closing. Josh says, yeah, Ayers Minis pizza is going down. And I just had the same conversation, like, Ayers Minis don't taste the same way it used to, right? Ayers Minis used to be a place you just go there every time, be like, I don't even know what the fuck this is on my pizza, but it's just hitting, right? And now they did some shit like that we got a pizza the other day. It was like, I am never threw Ayers Mini pizzas away. I took the first bite, I was like, this is trash. Order from Star Pizza. But something's shifting, and they're forgetting why we show up. And they can easily start to think that the reason we're showing up is something else. Or they may have rested on, there was an executive who really had all the talent, who was controlling it, and that person moved on, and no one ever figured what that was. So when that person moves on, they almost become another company. All right, keep going.
Fire. In other words, does your success at small scale rest largely on the people indispensable to your idea or product?
So does your product, does it rest on people, not on people, not the actual product itself. Keep going.
Say the engineer who built the platform your business runs on, or the celebrity spokesperson who fundraises for your nonprofit, or is it the idea or product itself? If it involves people, a key piece to understand is whether those responsible for implementing the idea will be faithful to its ingredients. This is called political will in policy circles. Knowing this isn't half the battle, it's the whole battle.
So if it's based upon a certain group of people, first of all, you got to make sure that you lock them in or whatever way you can lock them in, right? It's Johnny from the famous designer for Apple, right? They locked him in for a season. But when they have him locked in, or like how when they locked in, like for example, people talked about how Adidas stole Kanye West designs. You have to steal his designs. You gonna build a large ass multi-billion-dollar company on one person? People say, no, if you run any the people complaining you never run a retail company. So my job is I'm gonna have to come up with the why threes or whatever else, Yeezy 3s or whatever I got to come up with to say, okay, yeah, but he's gone, but we still got this for you, because that has to be the plan. Because if he stays with you for a long time, good. And if he doesn't, good. It doesn't really fucking matter to you. But if you set your company up where you build your company on the back of a single person or a group of people, you understand how much political clout that is? You don't want that. So you are always scheming to expand your foundation. Never let your foundation be a single person. Okay, keep going.
Sorry, trying to pick up where my place was. Or the product itself?
We finished it,
I
yeah.
finished- Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Next one.
Got you. Cool.
Yeah, go ahead.
If your answer is the chef, people, there will likely be a limit to how big you can get.
So, mind you, let's go back. Can you be an old school family-based business based upon a group of people? Yes, you can. But just understand it's a limitation. And let me suggest here, don't ever assume your limitation when you first start. You don't know what that is. You may say, like, for example, when I first started working with Mashama, he said, I only want to be a small firm, right? And then once he grew, now I don't want to be a small firm no more. Because what happened was, he realized growth wasn't about him driving fancier cars. It was about him having more social, cultural impact. Being able to hire family members, being able to create a business your child can work at one day, right? All those things started to become different needs and desires that wasn't in his first request. His first request was just to be able to introduce a product, live a good life, and be able to have good relationships with people. But as he started to invest in relationships, all those conversations change. So you never take off with the intent to be small. But if you become small and you become comfortable because it works for you, then you can get away with for a little while with certain key people. But just know that person at any point can have an emotional shift and hold your company hijack. So you should have redundancy for even your secret sauce people. Keep going.
However, that doesn't mean you can't be profitable, provided that you recognize your scaling limitations from the beginning.
So yes, I'm getting. Keep going. Next.
My gramps, dad, and brother are all great men and hard workers. But guess what? They don't scale because they are in the chef business rather than the ingredient business.
A lot of times you see this when it's family businesses. You know, my uncle going to do sales. I got the skills. My other cousin, he gonna handle this. You almost build a system out the gate that can't be scaled. Can it be scaled? Yeah, but it's very hard because it's got a lot of personalities. Go ahead, next one.
Of course, there are trucking companies that have scaled to hundreds or even thousands of trucks and employees, but for many small companies, the personal touch is the key. If an unscalable one, and that's okay. The men in my family accepted that they would run a small firm their whole lives, and they have been happy and successful doing so.
And that's cool. Keep going.
The point is simply that you need to know if your idea is of the mom and pop variety or the Uber variety.
Mm-hmm.
If yours hinges on a combination of both chef and ingredients, like Jamie's Italian, you need to determine the relative importance of each.
This is important here. Keep going.
When it comes to ingredients, you must know your negotiables and non-negotiables.
So let me be very clear. This is the most common business you can build, which has a little bit of personal touch, but it's also scalable. That's what Jamie's business was, right? You don't have to go pure scalable, which is Walmart, right? Walmart doesn't require anybody can work their fucking calendars, be a manager, don't give a shit. Follow these policies, got a job for you, let's keep it going, right? But when you want to get to a point where you have a little bit of personal touch, a little bit of Nordstrom's or Foot Locker, or okay, those are a little bit more mom and pop feeling, but yet they're large businesses, right? Then you got to know if that's the case, what you build, what is negotiable and what's not negotiable. Because as you grow, some things are going to feel kind of too hard. You want to throw it out. You got to know, I can't really throw this out. Keep going.
Then figure out whether your non-negotiable ingredients, the ones your enterprise can't survive without, are in fact scalable.
So If you figure out what's non-negotiable about your business, can you scale it? So if you say to yourself, my business cannot work if Tina doesn't make apple pies, can I scale Tina? If it's no, you don't have a scalable business. And a lot of times, what's not scalable is the story the owner's telling themselves. Go ahead, keep going.
Consider the publisher of this book. Currency, which is an imprint of Penguin Random House. Their distribution network is a key ingredient of their business, and it's scalable because there are systems and infrastructure in place such that if 200 new bookstores were to open all across the country, the publishers would be able to ship books to them almost overnight.
Amazing.
But another key ingredient is great content, which doesn't scale because there are a limited number of great ideas and writers in the world, just as there are a limited number of world-class chefs. So, if they plan to scale further, they first need to identify which of the key ingredients are scalable and which aren't. In this case, if they were to double in size, they wouldn't be able to maintain fidelity for content, yet they could for distribution.
So what he's saying is that if you're known for only putting out a certain quality product, Kaja, sometimes the quality of the product is your limitation because there's only so much of that you can get, right? So even though you can distribute, and even though you can build efficiency, you can build the biggest engine in the world, but there's only so much of that product. So you got to ask yourself, and this is why you see, like, if you've been paying attention, I wish Shabisha's sick, by the way, and God bless her, and Tennille's also sick. They're my family, both of my sisters. And but Shabisha would tell you, a lot of the companies, usually if you go back in old fashion was meant to purchase it and have it for a little while. Then all of a sudden the new H&M model comes in, disposable fashion. Turnovers like this, right? And you see everybody had to adapt. Even high fashion has adapted. No one is real. Everybody realized because once the market desires change, but for those companies to say, no, we only do it this way, they may do really, really, really well, but they also have a very, very limited market. And they come to accept that. But I promise you, a lot of them companies that are very exclusive, that move slowly, have a secondary product that moves fast. Go ahead.
That's just to piggyback on what you said. That's exactly what I was thinking. You can buy Shein, and I think Shein has a purpose and a time and a place. But McMullen is not competing with Shein, nor do they ever have to, because her expertise allows her to stand in other areas that can, I'm guessing, garner what you can't get because you're not marketing at a Shein level.
But Shein makes more, if they're part of the same company, Shein makes more McMullen, if they're part of the same company, more valuable. So for example, let's say if I go to your wine shop and all you sell is high-end wines, like you sell wines which is limited and being scalable. The way I would really push my profit is I would sell wines that are more available, but at a higher price because you're coming to a high level place to buy wine, and your brain can accept paying a premium of $2-3 more for the same wine you can go down to Safeway and get for $3 cheaper because of the experience of where you buy the wine from. So McMullen actually expands the value offer or the value offer of their products because it's tied to, if you're just like Armani, if you ever own Armani Exchange, it's not Giorgio Armani. Giorgio Armani fucking sweater is like fucking $3,000, right?
Polo Sport.
Right, exactly, right? It's a difference. But what makes the other one valuable is that the middle class person who wish they could be rich, they have products now that make them feel like they can be part of that. But the rich who are really rich know that you're not them. But it doesn't translate to the middle class person who wants to be them, right? Like Mercedes, most of us can't buy a Maybach, right? Okay. But when you buy say you buy a Mercedes at $60,000, your brain doesn't say, yo, this is not an S-Series, $150,000. Your brain go, oh, God, I got a Mercedes, right? But if Mercedes start just making like $60,000 cars, the one that you was just paying $60,000 for actually drops in value. But because they have a very expensive car, you just join a high status family. I was telling somebody the other day, the $20,000 you get that certificate from Stanford, you're not buying for the education, you're buying the status of Stanford. And there's people at Stanford right now that are there who are getting much lower degrees. But if I can put Stanford on my resume and I get that status, that's worth $20,000, $100,000, $300,000, $400,000, whatever the cost is, because that status allows me to move amongst people totally different. So a higher status brand raises the lower status brand's value because of their connection or the relationship they have, especially when it's advertised and it's communicated. So in the end, they're playing the class game, and they're recognizing that each class have different desires. It's not a copy and paste of desires. They don't see the world different, the same. Like the higher you're getting in brand, logos disappear. It's cheesy to be super rich and wearing big ass logos. Matter of fact, that's how you know people the bank account by the size of the logos they wear in their clothes. Multi-millionaires, like crazy rich people. You said what? They don't wear chins. Chains. Oh yeah, chains. Oh yeah, Dave Chappelle. Yeah. They like literally. It's a different world. So, and the poorer people get, the bigger the logo expressions are.
Can I dial in on that just a little? Like, I remember you talking about how you don't like farmers markets because
I hate 'em.
like you're buying
Bad business.
into. I actually really like that business model because it falls into, I think, or I feel,
Status.
time, not even status, but time and place purchase, right? I
What do you
may
mean?
not always want top of the line cheese, but I know that when I'm having a special occasion, when I'm doing a board, if I'm having something at work, I'm gonna splurge because I want a quality ingredient for an occasion. Or I'm going to be the person who just wants a quality.
You just didn't hear
ingredient all
yourself say
the time.
status, did you? Did anybody hear us say status? Was it just me? You just said status, 100%. You just said it. Splurge is status. That's all it is. There's no such thing as splurge if you take away status. Quality is status. If you bought something really quality, let's say you put some food in front of me and you spent $100 for this apple, and I'd be like, I throw it over my shoulder. You'd be like, this motherfucker, no, you didn't. No, you did not. Because it's status to you, it's not status to me. So the reality is that you don't realize status is such a hidden, invisible desire of all. Nobody escapes status. Nobody. So first of all, find your status, and you realize, damn, man, we all chase. Everybody in this room chase status. It's just that person who says, oh, I don't chase status because I do this. Is chasing a different kind of status. Because that type of food you associate it with a certain type of experience. If you were living at McDonald's paycheck every day, that shit is silly to you. You're not even if you want it, it's because you want to feel like you're these group of people. You got it, so it's like you ain't tricking if you got it. Or is that what they say? You ain't tricking. You ain't tricking for you because you got it, right? So when you spend that money, but when I'm at farmers market, I'm seeing all these different status games being played. Data's coming out all the time about how organic is bullshit, right? Even sustainable energy, they found out, nah, not working. Like all these things we've just been following these ideas, but why are you following all those ideas? Because that's the status group you belong to. And so when you're in that status group, certain things is your way of signaling, I'm brought into it, I'm with it, I feel good about it, I'm aligned with it, I want to share with you to let you know where I stand, and you recognize me, I recognize you, right? It's all a status game. So when I look at farmers market, they're playing a status game. I get it, I'm not mad at it, that's how the game works. But it's not even sustainable, and it's not even long term. You just like I've seen great status. Whole Foods is a great status game player. Trader Joe's is probably one of the best status game players I've seen in the market. Because you are playing a status game. It's not the same as Whole Foods, but they're saying, hey, we run this organic game, but we're also going to play this middle class. We look at the larger portion of the market, and we're going to kind of seep in certain parts of the market that's not necessarily part of the status, but we will recruit you into the status. So you start Trader Joe's, you will fuck with us. Whether you know it or not, most people still don't try to shop at Trader Joe's. They're the most efficient in the game. They're excellent in their marketing, and they try to make it feel like it's static, like there's no status there, but you're there for status reasons. There's no such thing. There's no, human beings don't know how to exist without status. And so when you said, I'm Spurgeon, I want to feel a certain kind of way, I want to show up a certain kind of way, that's show up some kind of way is 100% status.
Okay.
But that's it. It's not. If I'm sensing your response properly, and it might not be, you're not wrong or right. It's not good or bad. I need you to see it because when you run business, you gotta do the same, play the same game. You gotta see that game. You gotta see that when your customer walks in there, they're looking for status. Are you gonna give them status they want? Do you give them status, or do you sit there and think that it shouldn't matter even though you're playing the same status game? When you said, oh, I like to go to parties in the hood, that was a status statement. That was a status statement.
I'm not sure how, but okay. I hear that.
Can anybody see the status in that besides me?
How do you define status?
Huh?
How do you define status?
Status is at the very core of how we rank ourselves amongst other human beings. How we see our value amongst other human beings. Value would not exist if other human beings didn't exist. You wouldn't think about value if there's another human being. You don't know about yourself, right? So when you do valuable things and things that matter to you and important things, and because why is status required? Because that's how you survive in the real world. Without status, how do you eat? How do you sleep? Look, you don't live on this world by yourself. You don't get, like, if I just threw you out in the wilderness by yourself and say, you can get access to nothing, no utilities, most of y'all would die. Most of y'all are not bear to know how to go out there and like cut the tree, like, I'm gonna eat this bug, I'm gonna drink my own piss, right? That was the worst. Y'all don't know if y'all ever seen bear. He drank his own urine. I was like, fuck it, I'm dead. I'm just gonna have to die. It's gonna happen, right? But that survival skill, probably 0.00000, and we can go over zeros for a long time, 0.1%, know what the fuck that is, right? What I'm suggesting with you is that status is how we survive, and that's how we get along. That's how we rank ourselves. Matter of fact, the lower you are in status, it's close to homelessness. Matter of fact, if I shame your status away, you become a dangerous animal, and you will fight me, you will attack me some kind of way, and in most cases, you'll kill me. Class is a tool of status. It's built in this. Status is, babies play status games all the way to your death. All human beings play status games to their death. So when you build a business and you don't build a business to deal with that and attract that instinct, then you're building your business on this foundation of a story you're telling yourself. See, about that story stuff, you got to sell people for who they are, not what you want them to be. When you start building the world on what you want people to be, you don't, look, man, build a camp and you say all men and women should be able to live in the same house together and be at peace and love. And watch how many babies come out that house. Watch how much fucking will be going on at nighttime. Because that's human animals. That's what we do. Like, you got to keep in consideration that, you put all these men and women in one house and turn them lights on, it'll be some moans happening in shortly. That's what human beings do. Stop acting like we should. No, it's bad. No. Oh, and there'll be some drugs. This will be some of everything you can imagine going to be in that room, because that's what human beings are. We're complex. We're not simple. And guess what? We are who we are. It's not good or bad. I don't know how to frame it. It's just, for me to frame it, it's just try to play God. I don't know what that means. Time is too big. Life is too big. Humans are too complex. Too many people. I don't know what the fuck that means. I know how to create patterns and produce something, but I don't know if I should just call you good or bad. I think I was talking to somebody. Oh, Danielle was saying the reason sex is so damaged in this culture is because we're too conservative about sex. She said we're in a culture that can't say vagina, even though we all came out of one. That's just crazy. So then we don't get a chance to develop mental maturity, because through mentally sparring, we learn how to show up to these conversations and then how to make better decisions. So when it's time to make a decision, we're too immature because we falsely demonize something that brought us here. Huh? No, we treat it as if it's like, like if I said certain things in class right now, anytime, and I've tested it before this group here, you just say something about like, hey, you gotta be comfortable with your sex. Ooh. Man, I don't want to talk about that. That's too much information. You're running from yourself.
We have puritanical ideas about what sex actually is, but that's also rooted in our religious backgrounds and upbringing. And going back to the other point you were making, it's the hierarchy of needs. So basically, once we get past the survival mode and survival instinct of basic food, clothing, shelter, and even clothing's not even that, but food and shelter. Once we get past that, then we go up the scale to, I pulled it up, but eventually it gets to self-actualization and esteem. And esteem falls into that need of what you're talking about as status, if I'm not mistaken.
Because you have to position, because at the end of the day, you're surviving amongst a group. Imagine you're at Google right now and I say, you know what, you're black. I'll tell you what, I need you to just wash floors. I'm gonna pay you about the same way you get paid, but I just want you to wash the floors. Even if you love washing floors, your brain's gonna think about status instantly. What? Wash motherfucking floors. Most of us are not starving, and most of us are not broke in the Bay Area. You guys haven't been there. Get in your fucking car and go to Kentucky with this cat, and you'd be like, oh shit. Like everybody in this room is rich as fuck compared to where he went in Kentucky. Rich as fuck, right? But why do some of you feel broke? Because you're comparing your status to somebody else's status. Not because you're broke. You ate last night, but you don't feel the status they have. And many of you care more about status than money. Money is your route to status, you don't really care about money. Status changes the way other human beings treat you. The higher a woman is on status, the less she worries about being abused. Like when Jay-Z cheated on Beyonce, what do they call the bees? What do they call them? Beehive. Woo! Go ahead, girl. Fuck what y'all heard. That status like a motherfucker. Anyway, Beehive was coming. Bzzz. Fuck wrong with you, Jay-Z? Right? And then there was some brothers talking about, yo, if you don't want it, bro, hey, I'm sure she got a whole bunch of texts. I understand what the fuck he did and shit, but, I'm always here. You know what I'm saying, girl? Right? Because when you have now the woman who don't have status, and her man cheats on her, her man just cheated on her. That's all that happens, man. Ain't nobody here to talk about nothing, and mama won't even call. Right? That's the world we live in. So as a human being, you realize status is protection. It's literally protection. If you're a man with status, you got choices. A man with no status may have a choice, and it might be negotiable. That's bad. That's bad, motherfucker, boy. In prison, what much? And even in prison, they play status games. Go to prison and have no status. You might be making salads. Anyway, go ahead. Stop it. How you gonna pause me? Go ahead.
If you slow down and take a look around, you'll see that the idea of negotiables and non-negotiables is everywhere.
Yes.
When you break down the component parts of a car, it's fairly easy to see what's negotiable and what's not.
This is so important. People, get this. This is so important. Keep going.
For an automobile to serve its purpose, 4 tires and an engine are non-negotiable, while a state-of-the-art navigation system and TV screens for the backseat passengers are, I think it's supposed to say are not?
They're
supposed to say are negotiable.
Yeah, are negotiable, yeah. They're not, he says they're non-negotiable, and they're not non-negotiable.
Gotcha.
Go ahead. Yeah.
In economics, the practice of valuing such component parts is known as
Hedonics.
hedonics. Making similar hedonics assessments of your idea is a central feature of the science of scaling.
Keep going. We're gonna jump into this. Keep going.
Non-negotiables have infinite value.
What kind of value?
Infinite value.
Keep going.
Since your enterprise will not function at scale without them. Negotiables, meanwhile, have finite value.
So no matter how big a certain company gets, some things they cannot let go. Apple cannot let go for example, one of the things that have been making people uncomfortable with Apple is Tim Cook's efficiency. Apple's strongest part of their brand was creative leaders, design leaders. And then as Tim gets in, Tim's like, I'm serving a $1 trillion market, which also chokes creativity, right? Because you start to build such a big system to serve a $1 trillion market. So, but Tim has a responsibility to still present a designer leader presence because that's what's got you there. Whatever you can think about at your company's core, no matter how big you get, some of those things that got you there, like remember the Build-A-Bear I talked about where they built these bears, right? So what got them there is, this hand holding, let's build this bear with the kids, sitting down with the kids, build the bear. But as they got bigger, it became difficult for them to hold that level of building bear hand holding experience. But what was the non-negotiable was customization was actually non-negotiable. So they figured new ways to outsource the customization so you can service more people with the internet and allow them to have the customization and personalization. Customization and personalization, as opposed to actually in there sewing a bear or whatever they did to build the bear. So as long as you protected the non-negotiable, which is the customization and the personalization, then even when you scaled it, you could just change how that shows up, but that's non-negotiable. Keep going.
Scaling can succeed only when the non-negotiables remain in place. In general, a growing enterprise will begin to lose voltage once it reaches the point where its non-negotiable ingredients no longer scale.
So if you get to a point where you build a non-negotiable idea, but you can't scale that non-negotiable idea, that in itself will destroy your actual business. When you build a business, it's very, 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 very important that as you think about scaling, that you only can go as far as your non-negotiable won't change. So if you're known for soul food and your soul food starts to change because of your growth and people come there for that certain soul food experience, don't be surprised you go away. If you're known for great customer service and the soul food combination and those start to go away because you scale and grow, there was a cupcake company that was growing up everywhere. They had pink and multiple colors. What was the name of it? Did it reveal? Not sprinkles. It was the color was pink.
Yeah, it was a soft pink. They had the glass the glass.
And they sold nothing but cupcakes. They had really good cupcakes in the beginning. They had one in, huh? Kara's. I don't know if you guys watched Kara Scale. So Kara first was in, I think, San Francisco. Then Kara started to scale, but they started bringing in high school students. And you got there, you feel like you was in their world. They were on their cell phones, talking, chatting, capping, and they treated cupcakes like it was almost like McDonald's. And when the original Kara was a group of, it felt like a group of people who really loved the cupcakes they were selling. So when you went in there, you feel like they was like, yeah, you gotta try it. It was this inspiration, it was this love for their product, it was this introduction to the product. You feel like, oh shit, I'm going to Kara's because you feel like they made you feel like this simple cupcake was amazing. By the time you got to the young people doing it, and when they distributed the cupcake to certain places, the cupcake quality started to get more, it wasn't as fresh tasting. So the freshness went down, and the customer service went down. Non-negotiable, baby. Non-negotiable. McDonald's, if you go to McDonald's, some things, if you look at McDonald's, talk about how their burgers have to be prepared a certain kind of way. They talk about how the speed and the consistency, how fast, at what point you need to throw that food the fuck away, right? Because they realize if any of those things break, those are their non-negotiables. I don't give a fuck how many McDonald's we open, these core things cannot change. And one of the number one reasons people say McDonald's is staying alive, because you know what to expect. The quality never really changes. You go to McDonald's in New York and in McDonald's in California, French fries is French fries, burger is a burger. Now, does it change when you get to other countries? Yes, because it's relative to those country experiences. But within that country, it's the same experience, right? You can't compromise those experiences for the market you seek to serve, but you gotta identify what that is. And I bet you when you go home and say, well, what's negotiable and non-negotiable about my business, you're gonna realize some of you guys don't know what the fuck that is. Because you're too caught up in the worker mode. Keep going.
Did I finish this slide?
Oh, did you finish one?
Did I? Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. As the preceding examples showcase, to achieve high voltage as you grow, you need to maintain fidelity to your scalable, non-negotiable sources of success.
So you got to keep energy on the areas of your business that's not negotiable. You can't let the energy go down or let the momentum of your non-negotiable areas to get soft. If they do, you will compromise. This is how a lot of businesses don't grow and die. They let the non-negotiables become. How many times have you seen, like you get a new telephone company come online, like T-Mobile. Maybe in the early days they had great service. And then you go to a couple that have bad service. And all of a sudden they're equal to AT&T and Verizon. Why? Because there's nothing to distinguish them. They got to be able to, whatever got you there, got to stick out in the customer's face as soon as they walk through your door to say, oh no, you're here. Once bureaucracy gets so heavy that you kind of neutralize that, then you flatline yourself and it comes down to subtle differences between the others. So like, Virgin Airline, I don't know if you guys got a chance to ride when it first started. That shit was sexy when it first started. And as time went along, it kind of mild down a little bit. It's a little sexier than Southwest, but the contrast used to be like this. Now the contrast is like this. So when that contrast drops, well, now it comes down to who has the most convenience or the other needs. Where Virgin was, there was a time when you was be like, well, when is Virgin flying nowhere? I'm gonna take Virgin, because Virgin just was an experience. To now you're like, who's gonna get me there first? Virgin, what did you lose? You lost something there, and you didn't identify the non-negotiables. Keep going.
In the case of Airbnb, for example, it's non-negotiable when it started out where its digital platform and network of hosts and the company has been able to sustain these elements at scale. Though this hasn't prevented them from also launching experiments scaling other services.
Mm-hmm.
As you grow, you may also establish new non-negotiables,
Yes.
either in place of or in addition to others.
Netflix is perfect. Go ahead.
Take Netflix. In its early years, its non-negotiable ingredients included the shipping infrastructure needed to operate its DVD by mail service. Today, that infrastructure remains relevant but arguably negotiable, while new non-negotiables include its library of streaming content and the online platform through which that content is delivered.
So as your company can grow, you can make your old business obsolete by providing a better service to the market you're serving based upon the feedback you receive from the market. You can grow and expand the negotiables, but once you establish that, once again, certain areas have to be kind of rigid. That's the rigidity in your business, of making sure that shows up consistently at a certain level, and it's non-negotiable. Next, keep going. We're gonna hit a few more slides and we'll call it night.
Staying faithful to your non-negotiables, however, often presents difficulties as you scale.
Huge difficulties at scale. Go ahead.
One of the clearest illustrations of this issue is the long-standing challenge of medical practitioners of getting patients to consistently take medications.
Mm-hmm.
What is known as medication compliance or adherence, prescribed medication is a non-negotiable for the effective practice of medicine. Patients need it in order to heal.
Keep going. This is crazy. Keep going.
Yet, noncompliance with treatments plagues medical professionals around the world.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, doctors have been trying to understand this phenomenon for over a century. You can't scale medical knowledge and advances if the patients they are meant to benefit don't properly administer them.
So a lot of times, because of medicine phobias, for whatever reason, so many reasons, that trying to scale the medical industry is difficult because in order for you to know if stuff is working, you need feedback. You don't get feedback, that means you got to be consistent. And on top of that, too, you got to be able to measure the numbers. So if I send out 20 prescriptions, but half the people don't take the prescription, I can't even measure the results of the drug. So it slows down even innovation in the medical industry. Keep going.
I finished this one, right?
Oh,
Oh, wait. Recalcitrant patients are are a consistent obstacle to scaling.
okay, go ahead.
Recalcitrant? Compliance, another way of simply saying use, is a non-negotiable ingredient for just about every policy, program, or enterprise at scale.
I mean, if customers don't use, imagine you have a restaurant or you have a business and you sell something that you expect people to return, but they don't even use it to return. Like imagine trying to grow that business. Like if the product has imagine a product has an expiration date and you need it, when the expiration date ends, you need it to come back. But instead they let it just sit on the shelves and just sit, identify I have it, but they never take it, I never use it. So you can't scale anything like that. Keep going.
Just as focus groups need to be wary of misrepresenting who the population will be at scale, so designers of pilot studies have to look out for whether the compliance levels might drop with an expansive rollout.
So if people don't use your product correctly, your product sucks. If people don't use your product often enough, your product sucks. If you have a restaurant and your customer doesn't return for another year, your business is going to die, right? Compliance, how people show up and engage your products or services. If you write a book and people only read the first 2 chapters, they ain't gonna survive. At some point, how can I get people to comply with the usage of my products and service? So it's not just enough to go buy this phone. It's how they interact with my phone, and the interaction with the phone is going to keep the phone alive. So let's say you have a phone that blows up, but you design the intended use. And then when people purchase the phone in massive sale, it actually hurt your business because in the end, they went to, based upon human design, they went to use it a certain kind of way. And you're like, no, that's not how you use it. And it benefits you more this way. Sorry, you're out of the game. Google Glasses, virtual reality headwear. The reason those things haven't blown up because they're not compliant enough. They don't really fit people's life. Whether it's motion sickness, whatever the issue is, it's not adaptable. It's not easily adaptable into human designs. So what designers have to do, and as a business owner, you have to look at what is the use of your product and how does your product exist in the market. If you're not paying attention to that, design a beautiful outfit and the shit don't last. How long do you fucking think you're gonna last? Or it does the H&M effect. You ever bought something from H&M and it looks good until you sweat? And then that shit be like, right? It's like that makes a person say, fuck it, as soon as I get some more money, I'm out of this bitch. Because I'm tired of my clothes. I want to be able to walk around all day long and my clothes still, I can take them off and put them on the next morning and you never knew I wore them the day before, right? That's a compliance issue. Now, some cases it may not matter because the market just wants to feel good for a day and doesn't give a shit. That's what the Zara and H&M person just want to go out that night, look dope, take some selfies, and not wear their outfit ever the fuck again unless it's someplace that they'll never be seen again, right? So that market meets that. But if your compliance of your market is like, I want to buy a suit for my office and go through the whole day, stand up, and go to a party that evening and look like I just put that suit on, that's a compliance challenge. So you can't get so much into I created this dope-ass thing, but it doesn't hold up to the experience. Keep going.
This hidden trap crosses over to the business world as well.
Here we go.
Any business that is built on reoccurring purchases and consumption runs into this compliance conundrum. That to scale, you need people to not only come to what you've built, but also to actually use it and receive enough of a benefit that they'll use it again and again.
This is where black businesses fall. This is a major, I can't tell you how many black businesses I've seen fall off a cliff because of this. They sell you a beautiful wrap product. It tastes good, look good, feels good, whatever. Experience is good. But something happens in the experience. And they leave no room for you to give them feedback to have them help to autocorrect that experience. So for example, let's say I buy, let's use Marquita. I'm gonna make up something on Marquita. I don't have nothing right now for Marquita. But let's say I buy Marquita's jelly, right? But maybe the size of the jelly, when you scoop it, doesn't match a certain experience. Because she didn't think about the human experience of taking the jelly out the jar, placing it on the bread, putting the top back on it, putting it in the refrigerator, come back to it 3 weeks from now, opening it back up. And let's just say the top, because it's organic, starts to turn purple, but it has no effect, green, has no effect on the actual product. That green experience alone, I'm never buying that shit again. Or if there's some special handling instructions that people who are specialists know about it, that means you just shrunk your market to only those people who actually buy your products, right? Black people just, you go to a restaurant, you buy some food from a black restaurant, you get it home, and the way they packaged it, certain things blended together and the flavor changed. Fuck yourself. Like, you literally got to think about the human engaging whatever the fuck you do. Like, I go to Shakina's gym, I go home. How do I feel when I get home? How am I talking about her when I left her gym? What did she do to have a lasting impression upon me that's going to resonate in me coming back and sharing her business with my friends? What I'm trying, this is the formula for exponential growth, y'all. You guys always ask me, like, how do you develop exponential growth? Which is, I go tell two friends, those two friends tell two friends, right? Now, so if I told two friends, that's 3. Those 2 people told 2 friends, that's another 4 friends, right? And you keep growing that number. Before you know it, about 10 or 20 times away, you're a multimillionaire. But the way you do that is you got to protect the experience when your products and services is no longer within your grasp. It's a different level of thinking. But sometimes we get drunk. We get drunk because our ego is so tied up in our sales. We get drunk with the sale. We forget about the human experience. Go ahead, Gaja.
To the example you just said about that's my jam, and in here where it's saying that to scale, you need people to not only come to what you've built, but use it again and again to get enough benefit. And I've had the privilege of watching Marquita sell her jam. I think what is great about it is everybody is not going to be a biscuit and toast customer. But she does a really good job of saying, you might not have biscuits and toast all the time, but do you drink cocktails? You can do X, Y, Z. Do you make sauces? You can do X, Y, Z. So it's almost, not almost like it is helping a potential customer base expand use cases so that even if you're not talking about your product in a traditional sense, you're bringing in other customer markets who may not want to do the traditional thing and might open it up.
There's a problem with that. There's a problem. Go ahead.
Not to dispute your point, but like if I was buying jam in Safeway on the shelf, I wouldn't know that. I would just be getting a jar on a price-based decision and moving with it. And I might not know that this product I spent $5 on, I could have done A, B, C, D, and E with it. I just went home and did A and B. But at that farmer's market, because I'm interacting with the maker.
What about butter?
I'm sorry?
What about butter?
Or butter.
Does butter show you everything you can do with it? Have you seen what people do with butter?
I saw that butter board.
But I gotta get that. I gotta pull that social justice out of your system. Like, come on, out of you, get out of you. That social justice is coming out again. First of all, let's go back to Marquita. If she had 3 ingredients, I would believe what you just said. When you have too many ingredients, it doesn't work. It's what you feel. Because you know why you have 3 ingredients or 2 ingredients? Because if Marquita's getting feedback on 2 ingredients, she's tweaking the ingredients to it be perfectly that one. She has to get that one ingredient right to blow up. You can have 10 ingredients, but if they don't all sell fast enough, you're not doing anything. You're just pleasing your inner happiness. Like, I got 10 ingredients. That means shit. You don't get to dictate what I love. And you don't get to tell me how to use it. You can tell me all this, like, it can be. Everything you can buy at the store can be. Everything in the store. Ain't nothing you buy in the store that can't be something else, right? I mean, you see these chefs store all the time. They go to a liquor store and make a fucking chef dish. You're like, how in the fuck you find out this food? They use Spam and fucking them little hot dogs and shit, Pauls, and then they make some great shit, right? I had to get there before she does. The point is this, right? Is that what I'm arguing is this. You're arguing from a space of what you felt and what sounds good, using good and bad kind of as your judgment system. If you use a market analysis on this, you can't really say that. First of all, you have to measure those numbers to make that to really be able to say, yo, that shit it's on fire. So then that means I can call Marquita and say, Marquita, pull that spreadsheet. Oh shit, when you give advice, these numbers are crazy, right? A lot of times selection is because you're focused on pleasing, not aligning. So you get too much into pleasing. So you're trying to impress, not align. All right, now you're trying to impress, not please. You're trying to impress, not please. And so what I mean by this is, if you're trying to impress me, I have cherry flavor, I have lemon flavor, I have Uncle Tom's syrup, I have peach cobbler, I got bean pie flavor, I got all kind of shit over here. What you want? How much it cost you to produce all that shit? How much it gonna cost you to market all those separate items? What if those are all different markets? You're underserving hella markets because you got too many things. You can't service them. You can't really penetrate the market with that push you need, because remember, you ain't the only one out there. It's competition. You got to get to the point where I get to take these one, two, or three products, maximum 3, and you polish them until you get them exactly where customers are like, oh my God, I got to get another one. I got to get another one. If customers are not calling you up, this is what this is saying. Yo, I'm almost out, dog. Can I just get 3 next time? And I got my cousin gonna call you. Man, if I'm buying a couple of cases because a couple people won't buy it from me, my church actually said they want some. Now you got that going. But when you got a case where you're like, yeah, I still want a Kaja. You know, Kaja's really high end. But when rent comes time, when time to pay rent, that's not enough money. Fuck those stories. You personalize the story. Does it sell? Is Kaja, the only thing Kaja can really tell me that makes me let me know that you really loved it is, when can I get some more? And I'm used this up, and last week we already went through about 4 bottles. We had a party. I introduced some of my friends. They're gonna be calling you up. Your website should have went up. Some of those people are gonna see, I sent them to me, and then they got some friends coming, and that's business. Everything else is you trying to fix your ego or status, and neither one matters to me. If you don't buy my shit again, Kaja, you could have gave me a hug, told me why your skin is magnificent and why mine is not as good as yours. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you, Kaja, for all this. But if you don't buy my shit again, it don't matter. It don't matter. Don't matter. If you're not sitting in line, like, if you're not blowing Marquita up and buying it all the time, if Kwanzaa doesn't come around and you're not wrapping up Marquita shit in hella boxes selling out, Marquita got work to do. When Shakina first came to Fight to Media, Shakina was switching from the fashion world, photography and modeling, to being a trainer. And I kept telling Shakina, if people ain't asked you to come and get trained, you fucking up. You fucking up. If you ain't got people, yo, can we get in? What's up? Like, and you can't play rich if you ain't did rich shit. Right? Like, when you get demand and you got a story that's tied to your demand, you got an argument for quality, for like expensive prices. You just don't jump in there and be like, yeah, last night I made organic orange juice. I squeezed the oranges myself, and these oranges, because everybody talks like that, they get really weird. These oranges is going to cost you, like, for this jar of orange juice is going to be $25. Who the fuck are you? Why? What makes me want to drink that motherfucking orange juice? I can squeeze my own fucking oranges. I'm going to the store right now. What's wrong with you? Right? You got to be able to, it's a combination of alignment, finding a need, alignment, and then also adding a story to add extra value, right? And so what I'm saying is that she tells you these different ways you can use it, and I've seen that with Brownie with her barbecue sauce. She tells you different ways you can use her barbecue sauce, all the way down to using it on salads, how to use it on a salad. But if the customer is never using it on a salad, it doesn't matter. You got to watch the customer. What you tell a customer and what your customer do. What a customer does is more important than what you tell a customer. You see where I'm going with that? Where if you tell me, oh, I gave you all this great advice, but have you ever bought when you buy a nice car, when you buy a new car, you probably drive a new car, knowing you, because you're nice, you fly. You ain't in a new car. You had a 2022. That's just so hard for you to be. Okay. Let me talk to Lee, because Lily a pimp. So let's say you drive like Lily, right? You ride around your brand new Cadillac or Benz, right? Because that's how Lily. That's how Lily just. She kind of sprinkles that in a little bit. But just say you ride like Lily. Lily can buy a car with all the bells and whistles when you go to a car mechanic. They tell you all these different features. How many features you actually fucking use? And they record that, and they realize you don't use this shit. You paid all this money for these features. Like, oh yeah, I get that. I'm gonna need that. I gotta have that. I need this. But when you actually get it, you use it about that first week, and you don't use the shit again. So why they gotta at some point stop selling that as a value added to the car? Because after a while you start to realize it has no value. Your job is not to keep telling the customer when they show up, no, check this out, no, this bi-directional light, I know you haven't used it again, but make sure you how to use it again because it's gonna change your life. If you don't design it where a human being wants to use it, it doesn't matter what you feel. Fuck your feelings. It's about you aligning with what human beings, and the way human beings move in this world is based upon association. You can't say, I'm gonna sell you this. Okay, I think there was what's that thing you stand on and you ride around? Not the hoverboard, the one, the Segway. Segway failed because they had poor associations. People didn't know how to think about it. So I'm supposed to stand up, lean forward, and I ain't gonna fall on my face and go around town. I don't know how to do this shit. Why does the scooter work so fast? Or something you can sit down on, or I can sit down this. Like they got this new scooter now around town, so they had the one you can stand on, right? So and people felt more adventurous. I'm gonna ride that. That sounds fun. Watch how this one where you can sit down and ride like a little small motorcycle, but it's a scooter, right? Watch how that one will outsell the standing scooter, because human association. Not saying one is better or not better. That's not the argument. It's based upon how the brain associates stuff. You're not in business to push your beliefs, social justice. Your job is to align with other people's belief, businesswoman. That's the difference.
I know it's late. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
This is where I'm struggling with that.
You need to stop. Lily, first of all, Lily, you can't, of all people can't say shit. Lily should be like this. Go preach, sister. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
There is a market for everything. So I'm willing to be wrong here.
Josh like that statement.
I'm willing to be wrong here. But there's a market for everything.
Yeah, you turn red.
So it's like if you it's like that saying, if you build it, they will come, right? Are you pandering to a particular market, or are you creating a product that aligns with a certain market, so that it's not that I'm gonna go get y'all effect. It's I'm here and my market will meet where I'm at because I'm giving what that market is looking for. I may be looking at that completely wrong.
Say the last part again. Chiquita, what'd she say? Because I know you be listening a little deeper to some of that. What'd she say? I want to hear you interpret. I want to hear Chiquita interpret it.
I feel like if I'm hearing you correctly, I feel like I'm hearing you say that you need to be skewing it to a market, skewing your product and or service to a market, versus I have a product and or service, and there's a market that's naturally going to align with this product and or service, so that it's not.
You said there's a market that will align. How do you know that?
You don't know,
Okay,
right,
go.
until you start selling it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the different, I think where I'm drawing the differentiation is between going to try to align with a market versus I have a product and there's already an aligned market for that, so that I'm not going to get anybody. I have the product they enjoy based on your demo, based on your research, based on whatever that is, so that's built in. Everybody's not going to go to the farmer's market, but many people are, right? Everybody's not going to pay $20 to squeeze oranges, but some people are.
Somebody look at real quick while she's talking. Look at the value of the farmers market industry on Google real quick.
I'm the farmer's market stand.
No.
You
I just
can't
want to
tell?
hear the value. I want to hear the value of the market. Just value of the market.
Farmer's market high.
Anything from you, Josh? Josh, you know this looks very stereotyped that you're looking at the value of the market. I'm just saying.
And while you look that up, if I could just get a
How much?
jump.
It's $1 billion. Now, what's the value of the food market in the United States?
It says that the total annual sales at U.S. farmer markets are estimated at $1 billion.
For all the farmers markets, right? Which means, okay, so what's the estimated value of just the food industry in the United States? Huh? $83.something billion? So you're damn near, that market is damn near serving 1%, and you take that $1 billion, you split it amongst the market. Go ahead. Whatever you want, bro. Whatever you want. Whatever you want, fam.
What does it mean, 8.66 TN?
Huh?
It says, like, the food market industry is valuated at 8.66 TN.
Trillion?
TN. I'm asking, actually.
Uh,
What does the TN stand for? I'm gonna click on all. I thought you was.
Now we're gonna look at this real quick. We'll just ask fun just real quick. We don't go out on this. We won't go out on this, but I just want to say something real quick. Go ahead. Okay, we'll do a question. One second. TE? I ain't never heard of TE. Yeah, I don't know what TE is. I look up. I don't know what the fuck TE is either. You told me trillion 86. United States United. Is your screen cracked? It's $964 billion. Food market in the United States is $964 billion, right? So now, so 1 billion of that. Now, of 1 billion, how many? Can you look up how many food? What percentage of that market is making the most of that money? Because everybody don't make the same amount of money, right? So, you trying to compete for a $1 billion market?
The highest slice of the pie of the 1%.
Yeah. So like usually the high. So maybe 4 people or 5 groups of people might make majority of the money, and everybody else is probably competing for like the pennies falling off the table.
20,000 a year.
Right. So when you look at those value markets, if you look like what's the average amount of money that a company makes at a farmer's market, you'll find out, oh shit, you're fighting for change. Now, but are you there selling the product because you're part of a status symbol and you enjoy the status of it? Similar to why black folks always want to do clubs or be producers, it's because the value that comes along with the title, as opposed to the actual reward. That's why a lot of black women own clothing stores, right? Because I was the best dressed. I gained status by you coming up to me, and I can tell you how to be fashionable. So I like the status, and I can ignore the money. I can tell you a lot of fashion clothing company stores when women were paying to stay in business because they love the status that went along with being in business. So when you look at that market, that's a poorly ran market, and look at some of their models, because it's a poorly ran market. Now, does Whole Foods have what Whole Foods did? They took that model and they put it on steroids. And even Whole Foods, if you look at their value compared to like some of the other majors, they're small. They're really small. That market is a very, 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 very small fucking market. I think Trader Joe's is probably the largest, but Trader Joe's doesn't use the farmers markets models. Their shit is way cheaper than farmers market. And they don't have, like, there's hella organic shit in there. Ain't nobody there talking about, did you get the organic chicken from Trader Joe's? Or what you can do with this chicken? Let me show you some different ideas. Well, everybody kind of does it because Costco do that shit. You walk down Costco, they show you all kind of shit you can do at Costco with that food, right? My point, my argument is that if you're competing for a market that's flooded and you're really buying into a movement more than you're moving, because at the end of the day, let's say Marquita was doing at least $10 million a year, which is really low, and selling goods, right? Even with that, in order for her to do $10 million a year, it doesn't benefit her to sell it one time. She need repeated sales of a certain product. If I ask you right now, who would you invest in, Welch's or organic product from the farmer's market? I think all of us would put our money in Welch's.
Well, a lot of it is the placebo effect.
Yeah, absolutely placebo effect.
Like,
And what I'm saying is that, now here's the thing. Let me be very clear what I'm doing with you here. I'm saying, even if you go in that industry, stop romanticizing it. Let that shit go. Learn to see the numbers of it. You're making it so personal, you can't see it.
I don't think it's personal, but I also don't think, and maybe an entrepreneurial class is not the best place to make this argument. I think everything is not measured on a dollar. I think when we have the broader conversation about food deserts, it's imperative for people to be patronizing local artisans in their community.
Yeah, the problem is that, but is it sustainable if there's no money? I think what we get into, that's a non-sustainable belief that I grew up all my whole life and watched everybody die from the same thing over and over and over and over. You know, it's just because guess what? Those kind of customers don't stay for long. You ain't gonna stay for long. At some point, you gonna get carried away from relationship or responsibilities. One or two gonna snatch your ass away, or have a child and watch the game change. Like a lot of this shit changes based upon different variables. I need a product that can weather the storm of all your changes. I can't be an artist depending on, if that's the case, then stop talking about efficiency when people don't show up, because that's that game you're talking about over there. Once you get into showing up, those people won't get paid because they recognize, because competition changes. If you even say, I don't care about all that, at some point you got to charge higher prices just to suppress the market so you can have room to fucking breathe. Otherwise, they just keep coming. You're like, okay, fuck it. My price just went up $20 more. Now some of y'all go home. Shit. Straight up, like that, and all of a sudden now I'm in a more expensive market. I'm doing business, but I told myself I'm not really doing business because in the day I kind of care about everybody. No, I don't. No, you don't. Because right now, if you throw a party, you ain't inviting everybody. Let's keep it 100. And let me ask you another two. If you really invite everybody, how many people in your life right now? He's gonna fuck you up. How many people right now, right the fuck at the exact second, could come to you and say, give me $1,000, you won't ask one fucking question?
No more than 3 or 4.
Then so you can discriminate there, but you can't discriminate anything else, huh? Oh. No. I'm saying that the trust, the reality of human existence is based upon these variables that we don't get. In our imagination, we can remove trust. We can remove differences. We can remove all these variables. But when we actually get in the real world, like was said earlier, I don't know if I can trust you. And so what I'm saying is that, you know, it's not about money. Those people in the market will tell you at some point, yeah, it gotta be about money. I gotta eat. I hear you. I hear what you're saying. I'm not saying I need to be a billionaire. Nobody said you gotta be like Jay-Z with chains on your fucking neck. But you gotta make some change. So at the end of the day, it is, if you go to New York, where you from, New York? Okay. Then you should, no, you're not talking. New York is one of the dopest artist communities that get paid. New York moves money. Money moves in New York. If you go to New York and you say, hey, I want to buy a service from Jordan, right? Jordan will be like, yo, $3,000. I'm gonna pay my $3,000, but I'm also charged $3,000 for my services. So New York moves money money moves in New York. You know, if you've been in Oakland long enough, everybody's bartering. You know, anybody from Oakland, y'all know the bartering game that happens in Oakland, which is, if you hook me up, I can take care of you. If you give me a little discount, we'll just discount. And guess what? Nobody's paying nobody nothing because we starving the fucking industry that we in. Nobody's willing to spend money for you to go buy the material to be creative enough to deliver me a better product. So the whole market gets suppressed because we're all bartering amongst each other, as opposed to somebody got to spend the motherfucking money. No, well, we you having fun. This is the end of the conversation. What are you doing? Lily already put a timeout like she's a referee and shit. Wrap it up. I'm glad. Don't you bring a whistle next class? I swear to God, you bring a whistle. Bring a whistle. Probably what happened. And when she put over her sweatshirt, got stripes on. But no, I'm saying that the kumbaya undertones you're saying. Every kumbaya organization, when they want to be sustainable and have cultural impact, need money.
We have one online question.
Huh? Okay, one online question. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is referring to heroism. Someone asked, you say heroes destroy teams, but if there's no hero, then what is there? What would the team consist of? Doesn't there need to be someone or some kind of core leadership leading by example?
Leadership and hero is two different things. Leadership is, I want to work with my team, and I believe that every person on this team has value to the solution. Hero is, I can do it, right? So when you watch hero, like James Harden, my example, James Harden doesn't have faith in those other 4 people who made it to the fucking NBA. Everybody that made it to the NBA can play basketball. They may not choose because that's the role they've been assigned, but the Warrior center, Looney. Do you know Looney was a scorer in college? He settled in on his role to play his role. Looney actually can score, right? There's a lot of basketball. Patrick Beverly was a scorer in college. He took the role of defense. You have people on your team that can play multiple roles in sports, right? But when you are a hero, you're trying to finish every story with, I made it happen because I knew everything and I was the greatness. A leader is, how do I pull the greatness out of the people around me to pull the greatness and to realize that you are incapable of knowing everything. You're incapable of being all things to everybody. It's not even humanly possible. The reason you hire diverse teams because those diversity bring different skills and talents that make your system more robust. You get to walk away with a story that it was your system. But when you think about Chicago Bulls, do not just think about Michael Jordan and you don't understand the Bulls. There's a system in place that might allow Michael Jordan to soar. There's people around him. Yes, Scottie Pippen was extremely important, just as the point guards, the center, everybody had an important role, and the coach and the formula, the ball boy, the water, the equipment coach, the trainers. Everything plays a role. And you take out a couple of those variables, you realize, oh shit, they're not as good as I thought they were. But what we get caught up in is we watch TV and we watch them say, Michael Jordan, the Bulls, Michael Jordan, the Bulls, Michael Jordan, the Bulls. And then also you start saying, Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan. Oh my God, Michael Jordan's why the Bulls was the greatest. He was the most dramatic part of the puzzle, but he's a member of a puzzle. And if he doesn't see himself as a member of the puzzle, he could burn that whole same thing. That's why when Shaq and Kobe didn't have Phil, two of the greatest talents that ever played basketball, they couldn't win any games. This is why Kevin Durant and Kyrie, which are, come on, man. Do you understand how offensive power those two cats? And they suck. Because why? It's bigger than just those two people. And I think that's where people get caught up. We tell stories in hindsight, and we don't realize they're stories, but they have nothing to do with the formula that makes things work. We have to separate the virtual thinking from reality engagement. And reality forces certain things to come to the table that stories and beliefs have no visibility to, right? So that's the problem with a lot of this stuff is that, I swear to God, I'm gonna hit you with a stick. I swear to God. So at the end of the day, and make sure we'll come back to this one next week, but at the end of the day, like, if Kaji didn't see me another day, I don't really need, like, we're gonna have a discussion because that's my sister and we're gonna have fun. And I never would argue. Kaji's got so much love. You argue Kaji, there's something wrong with you. But I don't need to tell, I can literally walk out this room and life's gonna teach Kaji this lesson. Because I've been Kaji before. Everybody's been Kaji before. Everybody's thought, oh, I wanna do this and this, the other. And you get out there and then people start robbing you, stealing from you. Things start happening. You start losing shit. You start realizing, oh shit, I can't just make money. I need hella slack. Am I lying?
I was waiting to jump in because I wanted to share if I can.
Go ahead. Hang on, just hang in there. Don't leave me yet. Hold on a second, Jordan. Hold on a second.
I'm sorry. I just think that this might be relevant for probably several people in the room, if not people online. So, you know, my business is getting to the point we're 10 years as a business, 8 years as a brick and mortar, and Kaja, I feel you so much when it comes to the stories because I am a huge artist. I absolutely have ran my business as an artist. It was born from an artistic space. And I'm realizing that as I am attempting to not just grow, but try to scale, that my stories are very important for my staff to believe in. They're very important for my clients to believe in, but it's very important for me to separate myself from those stories so that I can stay grounded in reality. And what I mean by that is, I'm not going to say whether or not Nana is what his intent is, but what I'm pulling from when he's talking about these things and he's saying fuck your stories, it's not that there's no value to the stories. It's that you have to understand when it is applicable to use a story to hype someone up, and then also be aware of are you under your own hype, and can you detach yourself in a moment when you need to make decisions? Because when you get down to the basics of human civilization, we're all ran by stories. Now, the importance of understanding that from being Black is a story, being an entrepreneur is a story, being an American is a story. They're all stories. So stories are very important in our lives. If we didn't have stories, the world would go to shit. But I think what's important about being an entrepreneur is understanding how to leverage those, and when it's suited for you to buy into those stories, and then when it comes time to make decisions that impact your revenue or that impact your relationships or your core staples of your business, can you detach from those things so that they don't distort your decision-making capabilities? Because like I said, I understand being a artsy, like I call myself artsy fartsy. It ain't nothing I do that's not coming from an artistic brain. Then I have to filter that down into my business and say, all right, if it wasn't just me, if this is not, oh, I do this, there's things that happen in my business that I've been doing for 8 years because I was the originator and I was the creator, and it worked because I was the one implementing. But then as I started adding staff members and I got 5 people on the team, that shit don't work for them. And it don't matter how sexy I make it sound. I'm eloquent. I know how to make something sound nice. But if they're not buying into it, I have to be willing to nudge from that story to make sure that they have the same buy-in to execute so that the customer feels the same way as if I was servicing them. And that might sometimes mean that the story has to change to get the same level of output, but still keeping the culture the same. And so I just wanted to share that because I think...
Let me add a couple small things. And that was perfect. You got a great employee, and the competition is about to pull them away. Got to pay them more. Some of your equipment breaks. Got to spend that money. You find out that because you're doing business in areas, there's new licenses and insurance that costs hella cash just to play the game. People come to expect a certain type of business experience, and it's gonna cost you money to keep the experience consistent. You don't get to suppress that because you don't care about money. If you're trying to protect the experience, the quality, fight off the competition, stay relevant, stay culturally connected, that's hella expensive. Hell expensive. And when you start running a business, not understanding the value of money and why that's so important to protect all the things, the stories you want to tell, your story is so fucking expensive once it starts to grow. Because now, if your story is just you working, like if you're talking about being self-employed, we're not really talking about that here. And that's maybe something different. If you're just saying, hey, now I want to flip burgers on the corner in New York. Okay, cool. But what about when New York says, like I said, like Shakina had this thing where she had all these catastrophes start happening. And numbers start adding up hella fast. And one thing I told her is that when you're in business, your bank zero is not zero. Zero is death. Zero for business might be 20,000. That's your zero, because you got to leave room for the black swan events, things you don't even see coming are going to happen, right? That's going to cost you money. Then you got to pay yourself a salary. Then you got to pay high ass taxes. Then you got to pay all your insurances. You got to pay your health care, which might be $500 a month, right? You don't get to tell those people at some point, I can't pay this month because this month I just gave away all my stuff. You can't. At some point, you got to say, when you go to the doctor, let's say you got an ailment now because you're a little bit older and you need a medication or something like this, and that ailment costs you $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a year. Let's say you got a child. I'm sending my daughter to elementary. It's going to cost me $30,000 a year to send her to a decent elementary, or I got to throw her at Burbank, which is like elementary version of Frick. Frick is one of the worst schools in the nation, right? Do you send your child to hell, or do you make that extra profit to pursue your child to give them the best chance possible? What I'm saying is that real life shit gets in the way. But when we sit in this room and it's comfortable and you got a job, you can be like, yeah, if I get money, I don't care. I'm gonna just do this. I don't give a shit how you might still drive them old school cars. But holiday's gonna come around, and when your employees, your best employees, some shit go through some shit. Like I love to give bonuses to my employees. I love them to say, on this holiday, don't spend your savings. Here's some money, go take care of your family. I like to be able to tell some employees, hey, bring your kids to work today, I pay them all a salary. I like to be able to say sometimes to family members, hey, your son going to college? Does he have a brand new computer? I'm gonna send him a brand new laptop, right? Those choices, the less money you have, you're starting to rub people back now. Oh, that's too bad. Oh man, does this feel better? Oh gosh, jeez, I wish there was something I could do for you. But you know me, I don't give a fuck about no money. You know, I'm tired of rubbing backs. You know how many backs you get rubbed in the hood? You can get your back rubbed that fast in the hood. Go borrow some money in the hood. Oh, well, you know, I'm feeling some kind of way. You coming at me like this, because they don't have it. It's not that they're bad people, they just don't have it. You get to show up and be impactful the way you want to be impactful, but you got to negotiate that relationship. And when you scale, also his thing, when you're not scaling, I guess you might not value time. But you get tired every day, instead of going to see your family, go hang out with the boyfriend you're dating right now, going traveling, going to spend time with your kids. You got to be at that counter every day. And so now you realize, I got to scale to get away from this goddamn counter. Or also, you don't know about the 10-year fallacy, 10-year challenge. Most people, when they start a business, within a 10-year, they're tired of it. How do you still keep that business and you don't have to work it because it's residual income because you scaled it to the point it can run itself? All those variables are hidden variables you will never see when you first take off. And that's why I said, when she said, I say, fuck your story, it's give yourself room to negotiate your own story by stop romanticizing your story. I didn't say you can't be in a farmer's market industry, but your romanticism of it is making you business ignorant because you're following the story, not the business first. Get the business right and then create your own story. If you sold 100,000 products a year and you made, let's say in your price range, let's say you made, let's say you sold 500,000 and you made $5 million a year, and that made you cool, and that gave you the mobility you want. And you might say, no, I don't want to go to billions. Now we're negotiating. That's fair. But if you at a point where you're just selling enough where it forces you're going home with a salary of $100,000 a year, and now you have to be at work every day, because $100,000 as an entrepreneur is not a lot of money. Because when you start paying your insurances and all your fees and even your licenses, because even your car registration is different now. And when you get your first $75,000 or $100,000 tax bill from the government, you're gonna realize, oh shit, I need money to make money. I made $30,000. This is my last point. I made $30,000 my first year in business. I paid tax. My first year in business, I didn't pay tax. They can't catch me now. It's too many years. So my fourth year, I started paying tax. I only made $30,000 that fourth year. Guess how much the government took? 13 out of 30. Looked at me like, what? Pay your tax, bro. I said, well, how the fuck was I supposed to eat? That's not my concern. You gotta make more money if you want to eat. Y'all keep getting in business, think y'all, ask if Marquita probably don't pay tax like that. But once Marquita start paying tax like that, she'll tell you, oh shit. And when the insurance hits you, and it's software you need to even run your business, and they'll tell you, oh yeah, so we can get the software to you for like 10 grand a year, and you have to re-up every year. I gotta sell some more motherfucking jars.
Yo, I just got hit with a fat ass tax bill in the same day. My pipes burst in my gym, flooded the back office. Daughter started homeschooling in the same week. I mean, like hella shit all in one day. And I still had to figure it out because there was no IOUs to write. And that's the power of like leveraging your stories and knowing like when to connect and disconnect from them.
And it happens when you have a job, they buffer so much for you. When you lose that job, the game changes a lot. And so if you're not thinking about, I got to make at least to be minimum wage in business, to be like a decent life, at least $1 million a year, just to have a decent life. But even $1 million a year, you could be stuck at $200,000 a year. Ask Marquita how hard it is to get to $1 million a year. Beautiful market designs, great jars, and great sauce doesn't make $1 million a year. It's knowing how to move it in the market and align it to the market you seek to serve. If you find, if she says this is the kind of people I want to serve because it's that market, whatever that market that slither is. Slither don't have to be my slither, it's your slither. But that slither is Mickey Ficky. I mean that if you think they're gonna find your jelly and not find the next jelly that comes along later that feels better than your jelly, they will replace you in a fucking hot minute if you don't get them. If they buy from their heart, it's a matter of time. How many times have you bought something from your heart and you feel good about it, but when somebody came along and serviced that space really, really well, you never went back and bought that chocolate from that kid again? Like if you bought those cheesy ass chocolate bars you buy when they sell it for $1, $2, little funny ass tasting bars, right? If somebody showed up at your house with hella Godiva bars or C's bars, you ain't going out there looking for that kid no more. You only look for that kid because you don't feel like going to the corner store. Or you don't feel like ordering, you don't feel like waiting on Godiva because you got an itch in your hand, right? You gotta never forget you're in competition. And in order to play the competition game, the number down goes up again. If the competition does a beautiful stand and you show up with a box, It's good. It's nice to see black people doing good stuff. How do you compete in a world where innovation today is more important than ever before, because now innovation is one of the major commodities of all businesses. If you don't practice innovation and having the money to invest in innovation, you get ran out the game on innovation alone. Why start something that will cause you to go broke? Why leave Google right now, sell a product, and waste your time? Now, if you tell me you just want to do a hobby, then let's not have a business conversation. See, no, I just want to do this as a hobby. I don't really give a fuck if nobody buys my shit or not. I don't care. Then I'm cool with that. And I promise you, I wouldn't say nothing. I'd be like, it's your hobby. Who gives a fuck? If your mama buy it only, that's good. You have fun. But once you say, I want to eat one day off of it, and I want to be able to have a house of my own that's not on that's not on 98th and E, that's gonna cost you some money. The house is $1 million now. $1 million fucking dollars. And you can't even make $30,000 off your fucking product? You poor. You poor. You can't pay for healthcare no more. You can't even have money stored, so if you can't work, that's the other thing. What if she can't work for 2 months because she breaks her leg or something? What happens if she decides she wants to, you mean she could never go to Africa for a month? You see how the game changes? Like all the things, the freedom of choices, the ability to move because some shit happened. What if your mama gets sick and she needs support? You making $30,000 a year, what you gonna do? Zoom patter? No. You want to show up. I'm so sincere. Like, I tried that same shit and I was like, oh, fuck what you heard. Life is hard. It wasn't meant to be easy. The only thing that's easy is the stories we tell ourselves. You know what? Everybody, okay, those of you at home, Lily sucks. All right, look, I can't stand her so bad. Hey, y'all, listen, let's have a good weekend. If you do me a favor, because I got to leave early tonight, well, not early, I got to leave. Because we get our central heater system replaced, so we all stay in hotels till we finish our heater, replace our heater, which is like 3 days. Can you guys just grab a chair and bring them in real quick and clean, wipe, and then grab one of those wipes and just wipe your countertop to make sure it's clean if you ate food and stuff like this. Because I know Lily be leaving crumbs. I'm always vacuuming because of her. But the rest of y'all eloquent people, just wipe down. But Lily, you know what you got to do. Go get the vacuum. Anyway, with that being said, have a good night. See y'all later.